representing the disabled equivalent and changing the face of disability in mainstream media. If you don't design for accessibility or include people with disabilities, it's like saying you don't want the business of every fifth person that walks through the door. We're looking for $500,000 in the form of a convertible note to hire 31 managers within the first year. Thank you for your time.
James?
Hey, Kelly. So I muted James, so I think he must have unmuted by accident. But feel free to unmute James if you're wrong. But Kelly, I got a question for you. So first of all, thank you so much for the work you're doing. I mean, I think this is such a big problem that people don't really think about sometimes. And so thank you for the work you're doing. I want to dive in a little bit more to that sort of use of funds that you were asking about. You said 30 managers with a $500,000 investment. I'm just trying to understand those numbers a little bit better because that's a lot of people for that amount of money. And maybe I'm just misunderstanding what you mean with that. So can you maybe dive in a little bit more to what that would mean?
Yes, for sure. So right now, each manager that we have on our team works solely commission-based, but it's not ideal, obviously, to have people solely working commission-based, and we can make a bigger ROI if we pay a low base salary as well as offer them a commission bonus. So that's why we're looking for such a big number of managers, and that's why we need that money.
Gotcha. And so what are the numbers looking like right now for the managers that you currently have, and how do you think that would change with that structure?
Sure. So right now, each manager represents between 15 and 25 clients each. Roughly each client pulls in around $9,000 per month. So right now, the managers get 45% of the commission that the clients bring in, and then the company gets the other half, but that would change. We would get a much higher percentage of the commission that those managers brought in.
And just to clarify, the client brings in $9,000 a month. What percentage of that do you guys get?
Yes. So each client brings in roughly $9,000 per month. It's sometimes more, sometimes less, but that's the average. We take 15% commission from every job that they do. Yeah.
Okay. Moderators, any final questions or comments?
I would just offer that I think I'm not totally sold on a convertible note being the right way to raise for this company. I think that you've got a really good business, and I don't know if you consider any sort of going into debt equity or borrowing against some. Do you have DM me? I think I know who could connect you to a non-dilutive funding source, because I don't know that this is the type of it's a little bit hard to scale this type of company in the way that the typical venture capital model works. But I think you could definitely get funding through some other sources, and I have a few ideas. So reach out to me.
Yeah, you definitely. I think that you might also be able to find grants that would actually give you cash to start a company like this too.
Thank you. That's great.
Where are you located, Kelly?
I'm based in Los Angeles.
Raja, did you?
No, I just wanted to say there's a whole bunch of grants from foundations and family offices and so on for this kind of. And I agree that convertible note is probably not the best way to go.
Great. Well, thank you, Kelly, for coming up. And yes, definitely reach out to Spencer, as it seems like some alternative ways of funding would be kind of like better for your, and kind of like the traditional VC route is not kind of like the best way. So thank you, Keely. For anybody interested in what Keely is working on, be sure to reach out to her. Cool. Moving forward, Bien, and then we'll come back to you, Craig. We'll do some intros. I also want to say, Chris, you're like, 3 ways down to pitch. Make sure that, guys, and James was going to say that, make sure that you have something on your bios, right? If your bio is empty, I will say this, guys, you are not going to get pulled up to pitch if your bio is empty. So, Chris, we are giving you kind of like a pass as kind of like an example to others. But if you raise your hand, but your bio is empty,
there's a bio
is okay. Cool. Well, yes. From what I see, I only see kind of like an email. So a little bit more.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So a little bit more kind of like the sort of the company, but kind of like I would say, at least like 3-4 lines of kind of like what you and your company do. It would be ideal for, and again, for everybody. That is for everybody in the audience. But yes, cool. Well, moving forward, Bien, you have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Hi, my name is Bien Pham, and I'm the CEO of Untitled Project. I'm a mechanical engineer by training and an AWS solutions architect by profession. I'm currently working on a global online marketplace where Roblox gamers come together with artists to buy and sell in-game inspired items. I currently handle the data and cloud infrastructure for the top games on Roblox. You can simply check out YouTube, Royal High, and Megan's Plays, and you can immediately see how much growth these gamers and influencers have. These are my clients. Over the past year, I've handled billions of requests, and the growth continues to accelerate over the pandemic as more kids stay home and play more games. I've identified a unique market that allows me to bridge the millions of metaverses built by teens and young gaming studios located on the Roblox platform. Currently, I'm working with indie game developers on Roblox to connect their metaverse economies to create an e-commerce platform. I believe I'm a first mover in this market, and I'm uniquely positioned to leverage my internal relationships with Roblox, the community of indie gamers and influencers. My ask, help me connect with people who can help me along the way to build a world-class pizza delivery company. Thank you, and I appreciate any feedback.
Interesting. Who is in the gaming space? We don't have any gamers. C, you who are more in kind of like the sort of the tech kind of space. Do you have
connect and find out more synergy? Would that help?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, just DM me. I can connect you to. Yeah, he's my good friend of mine. I think his name is Alan. But yeah, just DM me.
Also, sorry, I just joined on late and caught the tail end of that, but I do have some pretty significant gaming contacts. So this is Terrell, the little bubble up there. Just DM me on IG and I can get you connected over.
Thank you, Terrell.
Wonderful. Bien, definitely be sure to correct with both C and Terrell. Terrell is absolutely rock star. Used to be a partner at Anderson Horowitz, so has a wonderful whole lot of sort of connections, and so super experienced in the investing space. So really great resource there for you as well. Any last comments or feedback from any of the other moderators? No. Okay. Cool. Well, Bien, thank you so much. Again, it seems like we don't have that many people, especially in the gaming space. But Bien, be sure to connect with Terrell and C. And for anybody in the audience who is in the gaming space, then definitely be sure to connect with Bien. And Bien, thank you so much for coming to pitch.
Hey, Bernardo, let me chime in and reward those who are fulfilling their, like you mentioned, their bio, and for me to go through it. Bien, feel free to DM me because I think I can. It seems like you're taking your business on the consumer perspective side. There is that e-commerce or perspective of what you're tying to, so I can help you that. So I heard your pitch, but because Bernardo asked everyone to add stuff into your bio, I can see it, and I think that's what you're doing. So feel free to DM me too.
Thank you, Ryan.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ryan, as well. So Bien, that's awesome. You have 3 of the moderators that you are connecting to. So congrats on that, and looking forward to. I know you and I are connected as well, and you also come to the ecom room as well. So looking forward to kind of seeing your progress. Yep. Great. Thank you, Bien. Cool. Awesome. Moving forward. Well, before Nicole, before I go to you, I just want to have the 2 moderators that joined us intro themselves. First up is Craig. Craig, great to have you back. How are you? And if you could do a quick intro.
Thanks, Bernardo. Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Reinfeld. I am an expert in the subscription economy, helping companies to establish and strategize to develop their full end-to-end subscription or recurring revenue model. I'm also an active early stage investor as well as a partner in a tech incubator. I look forward to hearing some great pitches tonight and contributing and adding value. Thanks, Bernardo.
I wanted to shout out Craig as well because Craig has actually done some deals off Clubhouse, which is really cool because I know a lot of the angel investors on here, not just necessarily on this panel, but I think on Clubhouse there's some angel investors who pop around and unclear if they're really investing. But I've seen Craig on a bunch of deals, and that's awesome. So thank you, Craig, for being such an awesome member of the community.
Thanks, Spencer.
That's awesome. Yeah, and thank you. Yes, thank you, Craig, for that. And thank you, Spencer, for calling that out. Next up is Terrell. Terrell, always great to have you. I know you were here last week, and you have the extremely impressive background and resume. So great to have you. Really looking forward to your feedback today. And if you could do an intro, that would be awesome.
Of course. Hey, thanks, Bernardo, for having me. Terrell Sterling. I'm the CEO of a nonprofit company called Go Paladin. That's kind of where I spend my time working with underrepresented entrepreneurs. Outside of that, as Bernardo mentioned, I was a partner at Andreessen Horowitz. I am an angel investor. I'm an LP. Outside of all these hats, I just love helping founders kind of get out of their own way. I spend a lot of my time just helping think through strategy as well as partnerships and sales. I've done about $340 million as an individual contributor so far in my total sales career. So sales is something I love, but I'm excited to hear from founders and offer any guidance that I can.
Wonderful. Thank you, Terrell. Terrell, are you like next to an airplane or are you somewhere like outside?
Not next to an airplane, but I'm inside of a van. I'm going to switch over to my AirPods, so it should be a little bit better.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, I was like, okay. It almost sounds like you're in an airplane that like about to jump out when you do like skydiving. That's kind of what it was.
They're moving him to an undisclosed position. That's how valuable he is.
I see.
Terrell, there you go.
Yeah, he's an undisclosed location. Absolutely. I like that. Cool.
Ryan knows.
Awesome. Cool. We also have Jennifer. Jennifer, Nicole will be right with you as you were next to pitch. But Jennifer also joined us. Jennifer, how are you? If you could do a quick intro.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much. Lovely to see you all this evening. I am an angel investor. I've been doing angel investing for about 5 years now. And in 2021, my focus is on cannabis and psychedelics. So if you know anyone in that space, I would love to be introduced to them. Thanks. This is Jen. I'm done speaking.
Jen is by far the GOAT in this conversation. She is amazing. Just in case you don't know, Jennifer Pyro, please make sure you're following her.
Oh my God, that's like the biggest compliment. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your feedback. And obviously, with an endorsement like that from Terrell, that is awesome. So we are as usual, and as I know, obviously this is not your first time, but we're expecting some awesome feedback from you, especially after that endorsement from Terrell. So very high expectations on you for tonight. Great to have you, Jennifer, as always. Cool. Moving on, and we'll get add some more speakers. Mods, Eric, I pulled you up. You want to come up as well? But Nicole, you are up next. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Hello, thank you so much. My name is Nicole and I'm from South Africa. I'm a new entrepreneur, and the business I want to pitch today is a business that I'm busy incubating called HappyNex. The concept for it to be an occupancy management solution. So this is to manage the occupancy in your workspace by having a counter as people enter into the building, or also managing the hot desking. This is sort of a need that arose because of COVID, because you have a limit on the supply of workspace. You now need something to manage that. And so the idea is to help companies to bring people back into the office safely in a COVID safe way. But this also has long-term benefits for real estate savings, because you can move to hot desking rather than having anchored staff. So the ask is that we need money to finish building our app. We've got an MVP, which we're busy bootstrapping. We need 2 million Rand, which is just $135,000 in order to finish the product. We've got a really good pipeline of clients who would want the product. We just need the money to finish building it out now. That's it. I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Hi, Nicole. I've got a question. So, do you have a hardware component as well that tracks the people, or is the tracking done through the app itself?
So we're going to use things like QR codes or NFC readers to try and track people. So it does require humans to use it, but the idea is to make it really, really simple and easy to use, and that people want to do it.
So then I guess my follow-up question is how this differs from sort of existing security systems that are in a lot of buildings that have the tap-in. I guess most U.S. universities have some version of this where they can track who enters what building when as like the locking unlocking mechanism. Is there something different about this, or
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the difference is that we're creating transparency on that information. So I'm not sure if it's different in first world countries. In South Africa, for sure, the companies who do that login or that tapping in and out, they don't show that information. So they don't have a dashboard which then says this is what your occupancy is, who's in there or not. So that information is not readily available. Also, that only helps you for entrances to your buildings or to floors, not your actual desks themselves. So we would want to put QR codes on desks as well, which means you can interact with any sort of asset all the way from a building down to a desk.
Gotcha. That makes it a lot more. I think I understand it better now. That's cool.
Can you explain how this is different than, why would someone choose to use a QR code-based system rather than a camera-based system for this kind of stuff? Because it seems like this requires a lot of buy-in from a user.
So I think QR codes have become quite popular, I guess, during COVID. So everywhere now, people just know how to use a QR code. You just scan it with your camera and you use it that way. I think, are you asking for like a sensor where you have a camera mounted on somewhere and that picks up people? Is that what you're asking, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, there are computer systems that can track things. They can figure out where someone is in a place if they've gotten up or left. I mean, I've invested in a company that can track where people are in a room. So
I got you. So I think that does exist, but it's quite difficult to build. It's quite expensive. Using QR codes, it's really simple, really easy, really cheap to do. And so the idea is for this to be a really low cost, affordable thing for companies to use. I think companies don't really have a lot of money now with COVID, having hit their bottom line. So this is supposed to be a super simple and easy solution that they can use without investing tons of money into hardware.
I think
thanks.
something else that I just want to jump in here with that I've seen at least in the world is that, and Nicole, I think this is useful for your pitch, is that the U.S. doesn't have very high adoption of QR codes relative to the rest of the world. So I don't know how it is where you're based, but I know that some places I've traveled, a lot of countries have high QR code adoption. It's something people do regularly. It's kind of like a regular function of every day. But that's something that not every, like for U.S. people is top of mind because it's just not widely adopted here. So that's just something to think about when you're pitching. I think you can describe a little bit more the paradigm of what makes this interesting. Because I think this is actually a good solution in a lot of places where you maybe just don't even have the camera resources, right? This is kind of simpler because you can just have it on your phone. And people have phones in like all over the world, right? So the phone part is really big. But I think you got to talk about what the market is for this because it's not maybe in some of the other places. Like I don't know that the QR code works in the US, right? But this is not, US probably isn't the market for this product. So I think you can talk a little bit more about that and it would be helpful for your pitch.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That makes sense.
I was going to double down on what Spencer had mentioned. I think one of the things, first off, Nicole, congratulations on making the pivot into being a founder. Welcome. It's a fun eating glass experience. But one of the things I will point out is that you're in South Africa, which is definitely, it may not be like the States here, it may not be like the EU, but this impression that there isn't an incumbent already, I think would be very strong when you're coming out in your pitch and just talking about, hey, this is what the current environment looks like, this is who we're up against, no one has really become the clear leader in the space, and this is why we feel that we have the best advantage in how we have a moat around ourselves to do this would be very helpful. I also want to echo the premise that not utilizing camera-based, our devices are grown leaps and bounds over the last just decade alone. So the idea of just having to get hardware, even though NFC reader tags are super cheap and super inexpensive, it's just something to consider, as well as just being mindful that, yes, as we are starting to scale, COVID restrictions and things like that are important, but as more and more folks become immunized and the more and more vaccinations are a more common practice, it does make me a little bit concerned in the sense that what is different than just having a company have just a generic counter that they can just put into their app. I know WeWork globally, they track all of that through their own mobile app. They have that dedicated infrastructure, and I know a lot of these, hot desks and co-working spaces also have their own products because they want to reduce their own on-prem costs and their costs of people. So it makes me wonder if maybe your target demographic may be the SMBs, the SMEs, who do not have a pre-existing infrastructure, or you can go in and say, hey, we want to offer you solutions that will get you up to that same level as, you know, the traditional enterprises and things. But great, thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Wonderful. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for your pitch. And if any of the moderators or anybody in the audience is interested in what Nicole is working on, please reach out to her. And thank you again, Nicole, for coming to pitch. Cool. Moving on, as want to make sure we have a good flow to the room. Chris, you are up next. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Hi, Bernardo. Thank you. Hi, my name is Chris Doyle. I'm the founder of FanDash. What we do is connect fans to sports players, celebrities, artists for memorabilia. Most, if not all, memorabilia companies do not do this for various reasons. They're basically stuck in the 1980s. This is a huge problem for fans as they have to use unreliable middlemen that are out of touch with fans' needs. What fans want is a direct connection and personalized items. With my platform, fans have that direct connection via physical and digital memorabilia. With my many years of experience dealing with the biggest sports players and celebrities, along with a long track record of superior customer service, FanDash can transform the industry. There's a vast growing market worldwide, and we have just signed our first deal with a very prominent author to do merchandise and a NFT. Various sports players and artists are on our list for negotiations. I'm very confident that this idea will be the future of memorabilia and collectibles. It would be great to receive any feedback you may give, and you can get a hold of me via Instagram or my email and bio. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Go for it, James.
Chris, I kind of like where you're going with that. I actually am exiting out of Fanfare, which is kind of a different spin on that. Right now, and so I have some experience kind of in the space that connects athletes and, you know, A-list stars, all types of stars, and people to their fans. So that's you know, I'm pretty excited to be exiting out of that with a nice return.
Awesome.
Now, I also understand the nuances and the barriers that are going to be faced quite intimately, just because there's obviously a lot of money and a lot of people at play. So happy to have a conversation offline. I'd be good. I'll give you 30 minutes. And Ted, that's you messaging. That's what I'm doing.
I really appreciate your time for that. Thank you.
No, yeah. I may not be this week, but next week. And just, if there's anything I might be able to add a value there, I'm happy to take kind of a look and help you spot some of those black holes.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, James. Anybody else from the moderators has a question or a comment?
Hey, Chris, this is Craig right above you. I was wondering, one, what your background was, and two, how do you go about to, you said you're in negotiation or have some target athletes that you are going to approach. How do you approach them? What is the incentive, I guess, for the athlete to come on your platform? Then what exactly is the athlete putting up for auction or for bid on your platform?
Thank you. So how we basically, I ran a lounge for 6 years with very high-end athletes, and I have quite a good network regarding that. So I understand the psychology behind high-profile individuals. It's very nuanced. It takes years to figure it out. So when I approach an athlete, I offer them a very high amount of the net, which they can't typically do with other high overhead memorabilia companies. To answer your last question was, what are we selling? I signed an author. The first project we're doing is in direct NFT, direct to consumer, and also merchandise directly from the author. That would be the same thing we do for the sports players. So that would be, in the sports players example, it would be a signed jersey that would be personalized, or just a regular signature, and 16 by 20 posters. I'd like to stick to those two items, as those are the highest selling items to start. Did that answer everything?
Yeah, so I guess if I go, for example, on a Major League Baseball team's website, they have like their own auction of game used cleats or jerseys signed or whatever they have. So I guess, what is your differentiator from that? Are you geared more towards helping the athlete or helping guide more of an experience to the fan and the consumer?
The barrier to entry into this space is knowing how to deal with athletes and celebrities. The end goal is about the fans and customer service. And so how you differentiate that is you give the fans what they want. And typically fans these days, if you look in the merch space, they want the item directly from the artist or athlete. They don't like going through middlemen. They don't like waiting for the shipping or whatever it is. So, I mean, you can see that in the merch space. You see a direct correlation, a direct, connection with like an artist, like a musician, to the fan. And that's what fans want these days. So they don't do that right now. Nobody does that.
Yeah, I was going to say this for offline, but since we got into this discussion, I'd say one of your biggest barriers. Okay, so one of your biggest things that create engagement on a platform like this and monetize and keep people on the platform is that engagement. And social media makes a shit ton of money, as well as a bunch of other industries, the way they're currently structured and also the way they're looking to take the future on that engagement. So one of your big barriers is how those players are going to perceive you taking those fans' connection with all of those superstars off platform, and then how you're monetizing that, as well as all the goods and everything that's attached to that. So there's hundreds of billions of dollars that is potentially your enemy here if you don't do it right. So that's just, I got to say it the way it is. We ran into it with fanfare. We took it stealth. We had a massive exit, but we had to take it under. We had Ashton Kutcher, Snoop Dogg. We had so many superstars involved at the beginning. We had great traction, and we would have been squashed like a bug. And we had to bring in the right strategic people, big strategic investors, take it underground, build out the tech like crazy, and then we parsed it off and licensed it out and sold it off for a huge return. And it's realized it itself, but the road was much longer than we thought. So just keep in mind, there's in that space, it's that's just my 2 cents. Sorry.
That's a great point.
Great.
I was going to say real quick is that athletes and celebrities hate signing things, as some of you might know. So there's a huge amount of work going into just that. I can, if anyone would like to hit me up directly, I can get into kind of the IP and how we get around that and the technical side of how we would handle that problem, which I have already mapped out. I just wouldn't want to explain that to a large audience.
Okay, great. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your pitch, and be sure to connect with James. And for anybody in the audience, if you are interested and what Chris is working on in terms of memorabilia from athletes and celebrities, then definitely reach out to Chris. And Chris, again, thank you for coming to pitch.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Great. Cool. David, before we move on to you, we have a couple of new mods. So let me just have them introduce themselves pretty quickly, and I'll be right there with you, David. Eric, great to have you. Eric is also comes to the Monday room that I host in e-commerce. Eric is not only wealth of knowledge, but has been extremely successful with his company, and I think he has a really awesome way of approaching e-commerce. And his conversion rate is obviously better than almost anybody in the industry when it comes to sort of e-commerce, and also has built a tech around what he's doing. So Eric, great to have you. If you could do a quick intro.
Thanks for that. Happy to be here. My name is Eric. I'm the co-founder of GiddyUp, and we've invested and partnered with over 150 direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands across a wide variety of verticals. And we really leverage our investments to help brands profitably acquire customers across every online channel and international market. And through those investments, have been able to generate over $1 billion in online sales, primarily through performance partnerships and technology with some of the biggest publishers, media buyers, and agencies in the world. So happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Wonderful.
Hey, Eric, are you guys touching Vice products?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
Are you guys working with Vice products?
Nope, we are not. But I would love to learn more.
All right, cool. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Vice, like, sex, drugs, like that alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Vice.
No, we're not. No, we're not at this time.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Cool. Well, Eric, again, thank you so much for joining us, and definitely look forward to your feedback. I always learn so much from you. I learned a ton from you this Monday, so really great to have you here again. And Jackson, you are unmuted. Guys, remember when you come, just make sure you mute yourself. Cool. Moving on, as we have some pretty good rhythm. David, you're up next. Guys, remember, we are looking for a great pitch, but that you follow a format, and we are also looking for enthusiasm, right? So, yeah, David, you have 60 seconds, and give us some enthusiasm.
All right. Thanks, Bernardo. So this is David here, founder of Musify, and I'm based in Tokyo. Musify is like Spotify, but much more. I'm sure currently most of you subscribe for the $10 per month subscription model. We're going to do an artist-specific model where you're going to pay artists directly. So artists can set their own subscription price and their own pricing model to sell their songs. The mobile app is fully developed. We are waiting the term sheet to be signed with the major record labels like Warner, Sony, Universal. The unfair advantage that we have is growth hack to acquire users initially. I think we can acquire user at the same rate as the major music streaming platforms in Japan. I'm looking for people who is interested in music space. I'm actually also looking for AWS and Google Cloud to be able to host all of these songs. And I'm expert in consumer mobile app marketplace. So if anyone need help with ASO, like mobile app development, I'm happy to offer advice as well.
Okay. So David, quick question about kind of like your pitch. Right now, you mentioned about your growth hack, right? Can you expand a little bit on what is your growth hack, your unique growth hack strategy where you plan to acquire a whole lot of users really fast?
Yeah, so it's going to be in Japan. Japan is a very unique music market. People like to follow the trend very well. And in fact, Clubhouse is growing very quickly. Like it's in Japan as well. So I'm going to kind of take some learning from Clubhouse as well to do some growth hack. And I've done it before, by the way, with a couple of games where I got, tens of thousands of downloads a day without paying any advertising dollars.
I have a question. is a crowded space, and there's more and more streaming services like popping up every day. I think I subscribe to like 7 or 8 right now. I end up definitely utilizing Apple, Netflix, and Prime for the latter two for video. And I've even though I have Spotify, it's just Apple Music is right there. Why would I go then sign up for hundreds more subscription services to that I already listen to for free? Just the obvious question to me.
Yeah, so Musify is not just about listening to the songs. It's about everything else that artists have to offer. Thinking about like going to concerts, thinking about like collectibles and merchandise, and having that unique connection with the artist. Obviously, this is not for everybody, like for casual listeners, enough to just have their songs, but for sort of hardcore music fans, they need more than that. So I think that's where I can drive most of the revenue, but for me to get to market and to get my brand out there, I need to offer whatever other streaming forms I'm currently first.
Okay, so I know I follow the artists I love on TikTok, on Instagram. I get to see their reels. I get to engage with them. As far as like mass engagement, it's not going to be kind of that unique one-on-one experience really, unless they're paying a huge premium, which people do pay. So is this like a premium? Basically, a premium can connect with your fans or service?
Yeah, I imagine a world where somebody can pay a ton of money to get first access to the latest single or the latest album. Like that person will get the initial premiere recording, and then afterwards you'll release it to the general mass.
I recommend focusing on that and like that only. You can post their songs, but that's the thing. Basically, it's kind of their aggregation of all their content that an artist pushes out. They're charging a premium, so those DMs actually get responded to. Because like that just gets that unique value prop, which has a unique user base, and like that's something that's acquirable as well. So with a good exit strategy, that's just my 2 cents anyway on it.
So David, I really agree with you. I don't know why it really struck me, but I'm curious. So how you said you're in negotiations with some big companies, right? Is that what you're saying?
Universal.
Okay. How are on what timeline do you expect those negotiations to turn into something potentially real? And like how much funding do you need to get to that moment?
So we're just going over the lines on the term sheet right now. I'm really close to closing Warner first, and Sony is going to come next, and Universal, so the biggest record label, will come third. It's going to cost about $500,000, I would think, to get these licenses, and that's how much other streaming services pay as well. And I'm willing to invest that amount personally, but if anyone can invest, I'm happy to share the portfolio.
David, GMB, let's talk. I've got some thoughts on this, and I think there's some core injuries. I don't know why I believe in closing those deals, and I think if you do them, this is a very investable business. Because kind of if you've got those players on board, and the deal is right, I think whatever the platform is becoming whatever those players want to be. And in that circumstance, you're just kind of in a good situation to be a technology partner to them. And also, I think it builds further to get a acquisition pipeline. So I'm very bullish on stuff like this. Because, but like traditional Almada closing of the contract. So let's chat. I'm curious to learn more.
Thanks, Spencer. Thanks for that.
Hey, David, I just had a quick question. So first, congratulations for getting in conversations with the bigger brands and things. I think that's amazing. I'm always a little, I hate to even say the word conservative. I'm very cautiously optimistic when dealing with a big brand like that, because it's always based on their catalogs and what other catalog we're going to get access to. So my question to you is it going to be Warner Global, or is it Warner Japan, or I guess it's just my caution is coming around the fact that yes, you may have this platform, yes, you may get this agreement, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting the prime catalogs of their artists and things, which I know those are even further negotiations where you would have to work with their own teams and stuff like that. So I guess my question is, as you're building this out, how much of this are you actually going to get as money back to your company? Because it sounds like, if you look at Tidal, which had Jay-Z, who was a big name, and, we keep hearing that they got acquired by Square for some undisclosed amount of money, or, they told us how much money they got, but we don't actually know how much money was spent to get to that point. So my concern is that as a founder, you're going to be throwing all this money at these like labels and stuff. But for them, it's like a drop in the bucket. They can just turn around and say, "Okay, great, we know what you've done. We'll come up with our own version," which we're starting to see a lot of these companies are doing, and then completely cut you out, because then they're like, "We don't really need to wait for you. We already have brand, we already have name, we already have position." So I guess my thing is just cautiously, I'm excited about the deal, but my concern is, are you actually going to be making any money to warrant you doing this?
Yeah, thanks, Terrell. By the way, I've been also pitching it to Andrew Chen in the recent Horowitz about this as well. So love to talk to you more later. So I am getting the blanket license. So essentially, I will have the same catalog as Spotify, Tidal, and all the major streaming services. That is the license I'm negotiating for. It is also Warner Global, but to be able to get the license to operate in Japan, I need to go to the New York global office, and that's the same case with Universal as well. Sony is unique to Sony Japan, which is a different entity from Sony US. So for Sony, I have to go to Sony Japan. That is going to be the hardest one to convince. But I think I'm talking to the right people, the decision makers who do the license, and I speak Japanese fluently. I grew up in Japan. I know the culture, and I'm also speaking to a bunch of Japanese record labels as well. There's like at least hundreds of them, so I'm going from top-down approach there.
Okay, perfect. Definitely DM me, because I work very closely with the Sony team here in the States. So if I can connect you to anyone in that group, just let me know.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'm actually talking to Tommy, so I don't know if you know.
Last name.
K Prion, something K. Yeah, I'll DM you.
Yeah, DM me.
Hi, David. This is Jennifer. I'm above you taking the selfie in front of the cherry blossoms. I just followed you on Twitter. You should DM me as well. I just invested in a music company here in the U.S. that's doing something similar with fan engagement, but a bit different. And they brought me on because I work closely with the Japanese music industry. So I would definitely love to hear more about what you're doing and see if we have any synergy there.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Wonderful. Well, great. Well, David, thank you so much for your pitch. Definitely seems like you have some pretty good interest. So definitely be sure to follow up with some of the super rock star panelists that we have. And definitely follow up with Terrell, Jennifer, and Spencer. So great pitch, David, and congrats on what you're working on. Cool. Wonderful. So moving on, Delphia, you are next. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
All right. Welcome to Blessings from My Heart to Your Table, blessing customers while restoring women and children from abuse. Our mission is to revive homeless, underserved women and children that have been traumatized by abuse. Currently, domestic violence and trafficking is on the rise. There are no fine dine restaurants in Washington state focused solely on Southern cuisine. 50% of survivors return to their abusers due to lack of money and homelessness. Survivors experience great trauma, making the regular workforce environment not conducive to their mental health. So Blessings is the solution. First, we bridge the gap. Blessings brings gourmet Southern food to Washington State's Puget Sound. We pay our team a generous wage so they can thrive, boost their self-confidence, and restore value and stability to their lives. Second, we built the economy. 100% of our employees are survivors of abuse, and we're homeless at the point of hire. We provide paid culinary training, youth internships, abuse prevention programs for our youth. And lastly, we partner. We partner with local shelters, counselors, legal advocacy programs to provide our survivors with wraparound services, which is so crucial to the mental and healing process. We also are a nonprofit as well. We provide our survivors with immediate resources so they can come to work and be at work. We did a market analysis this past summer, which allowed us to sell out in 4 months in a row every weekend of our iconic Cajun products. And we did this in the exact area that we plan on purchasing our restaurant in. Which this gave us brand awareness as well as built our customer base in this area. Let me introduce myself. I am Delphia Bruton, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And I'm also an African-American woman. In 2012, I started my company as a private chef company as a way to make money so that I could get out of my abusive relationship. 2013, I almost died due to domestic violence. 2018, a catering company for survivors only was born. We're raising right now $2 million seed round to finish the acquisition on our building, to provide working capital, wages, and building improvements. Blessings, giving premium support, financial security to survivors of abuse and the community, and elite, luxurious restaurant, wholesale, and catering services to Washington State's residents and tourists. Join this movement. Thank you.
Delphia, first off, I just want to thank you for taking the time and having the courage to come up here and talk to our group. It's not easy, and the fact that you were able to do so, it's commendable. Well, if I can give any advice to you as you're building this may be the wrong type of group to be pitching this to. What it sounds like you need is it sounds like you may, if you're in Washington State, there's a couple of people on this panel, Jonathan and a few others that are based out of Washington State. There are resources locally, and you can DM me and I can connect you to some folks that could help you with acquiring and helping you build out a restaurant. But
okay,
this group here, and again, it's just from the startup world, it's not a traditional startup. It doesn't fall in the traditional startup sense because the capital that you're going to get from this type of group is more expensive than you getting traditional SBA loans and things of that nature. You're going to pay for it in more ways than one from a capital expenditure, just from a capital raise standpoint. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, hey, I don't want you to give up more money of your company, give up your more equity of your company than which is necessary. So I would just say look at local resources. I know Puget Sound, there's some resources. I know Queen Anne, there's a number of grants and things like that for Black-owned businesses, female-founded businesses, and businesses that are doing job creation and job creation and job retraining. So I would look at those first before going after VC capital.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Jessica, it's Amy. Can you hear me okay? I'm out for a walk, so I just wanted to confirm that before I started chatting.
Yes, we can hear you well, Amy.
Awesome. So we're Seattle-based. I agree with what Terrell said 100%. But in my former life, at my last corporation, I actually handled all of the community outreach. So initiated all the relationships with like City Kitchen in New York, Dress for Success, which is a national program, as well as Special Olympics. And I'd really be happy to at least help you with manpower post-COVID with myself and my team members who are there in like the Seattle and Kirkland area. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to invest, but I hope you'll check out my email. It's in my user profile here, and just reach out to me, and I'm happy to commit, to volunteering and helping with whatever you need.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that.
Wonderful. Well, Delphia, thank you so much for coming to pitch, and definitely be sure to reach out to Terrell and Amy, who have certainly offered some really, really great assistance. And we certainly wish you the best on your endeavor. And of course, you have a really, really amazing story, and congrats on overcoming what you faced and really building a business with a purpose out of it. So really congrats to what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Delphia. Cool. Moving on to Kirtan. Before I go to you, we do have Amy, Amy, you just gave some feedback and offered to help, but you haven't done an intro. So if you could do a quick intro, that would be great.
Yeah, and I wanted to apologize to Delphia. I said Jessica because my phone was in my pocket. So Delphia, I apologize for getting your name wrong. I'm the founder of Kiss and Tell. We're a private social network with group booking that gets people to weddings, group trips and gatherings without the headache. And most of my 17-year career has been in travel and wedding technology. I grew and scaled the market leader, The Knot, for over a decade. And I love helping female founders, anyone in marketplaces, or just the travel tech space. So I hope I can just be a slightly more experienced founder, friend, and ally to anyone who needs one.
Wonderful. And Amy, thank you so much for joining us here as a moderator. And we look forward to your feedback. And thank you so much for that offer to assist Delphia as well. Cool. Well, moving on, Kirtan, again, we're looking for great pitches that follow a pretty good format, and we are looking for enthusiasm. So Kirtan, you're up next with a lot of enthusiasm. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Yes, sir. I got you with enthusiasm. Hi, my name is Kirtan, and my startup is Sense Fiction, an early-stage e-commerce startup that serves fiction book lovers by amplifying joyous reading experiences and providing community. Now, ever since COVID hit, fiction sales have rose almost 40%. But the problem is, no one is talking to these people. Fiction lovers are heavily underrepresented, and that's where we come in. Now, our core focuses are contributing to peaceful reading sections and building a strong community of fiction lovers. And we are doing this by offering physical products that heighten the reading experience. After partnering with a micro-influencer in our space and building a small audience in our email list, almost 2 months ago, we ended a successful Kickstarter campaign for our first product, a vintage leatherback book-scented candle with a little over $6,000 in pre-orders, and now we are prepping for our initial product launch on Amazon.com, the world's largest marketplace of book buyers in the world. And my ask is $200,000 in working capital at a $1.5 million valuation to help us amplify the growth. Thank you.
Okay, and Kirtan, again, can you just tell us a little bit more to your metrics? I know you mentioned the $6,000, but just trying to look at kind of like your metrics and their why, kind of like the 1.5 million valuation on a physical product.
Oh yeah, so I based mostly my valuation on the rest of the companies in my market. For example, Homesick Candles, TST's Bookish, and Book Club, and with the other assets we have, such as our micro influencers and the current audience we built, and the rest of the people on our team on board.
Okay. Moderators, who has some feedback or some questions?
Hey, this is Terrell. I guess the only thing I would say is I love the enthusiasm, and I love, as a fiction reader myself, I'm a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Till Death. Maybe let's not use underrepresented as the term, because that's been that's a term right now that is widely used to speak to the fact that people have been left out of a community and that they are marginalized because of the fact that of their gender, their affinity groups and stuff. So I just wanted to I don't want to be the asshole in the room, but I just want to call out, like, it's taken decades for the word underrepresented to be attributed to people of color and women and different groups. So I don't want to just let that word all of a sudden be bastardized as a way just to say, hey, so-and-sos are also underrepresented. So that's my only piece. But love what you're building.
Thank you. And yeah, I totally get what you mean.
Who else has some feedback?
I just have a question. So I was looking at your Kickstarter and I see the core product is a candle. I'm just interested in kind of the problem that you're solving for this, customer base, and kind of what is the current plan? Is it to expand across a wide variety of products? How are you what is your kind of go-to market strategy from here, and maybe why you settled on a candle? Is there anything unique about it or different that stands out that you think is going to kind of differentiate you in the market?
Oh yeah. So yes, we do have a wide variety of products. The candle is the first one we launched so far. We do have several others in R&D at the moment. And what kind of differentiates us is we're creating amazing products for people that we just understand. The other companies in our market just don't really understand the fiction lover, if that really makes sense. And that's why they can't really tune in products to the way they want it tailored to them. And in the same way, we actually created products that really benefit you while you're reading. For example, our candle is kind of formulated to help you and capture your current reading state while you're actually in the mood and help amplify it. So yeah, it's just mainly understanding our market and better than the rest of the companies in our space.
Okay. Kirtan, thank you so much for your pitch. I do want to make sure that we keep going. We appreciate you, and for anybody in the moderators or in the audience, if you're interested in what Kirtan is working on, please be sure to reach out to Kirtan, as you are working on something pretty cool. I do think your valuation is a bit high. And as per Eric's question, I think there's sort of, on the differentiation side, you could work a little bit on that answer. But again, I think you're sort of the combination of kind of fictional stories with a physical product is certainly a very, very cool idea, and definitely something pretty interesting there for sure. So thank you again, Kirtan, for your pitch, and we look forward to hearing your success. And moving forward, Jeremy, I just saw your bio really quick, and I see that you build space robots. That sounds very interesting. So looking forward to your pitch. Give us some enthusiasm. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity tonight. Here's my 60 seconds. My name is Jeremy Grimmett, and I'm the founder and CEO of Rogue Space Systems, where we're developing space robots to help commercial, government, and defense satellite operators transport and repair their space assets using our AI-enabled robotic systems. We look to address a $3 billion unserved servicing market and a $23 billion transport market. We have a $1.1 million research and support funding allocation with an agreement through the Air Force Research Lab, and our agreement covers free launches to space for our demonstration missions over the next 3 years. Our opportunity pipeline is valued at over $40 million through 2025, and our first revenues have been accelerated from 2023 to this year. We've raised approximately $250,000 to date and are in the process of doing a $5.5 million raise, which will help us get our demonstration system out into space in June 2022, close out some near-term opportunities, scale up our engineering staff, and hopefully get us to our next round of funding. My name's Jeremy Grimmett, and that's my pitch.
Wonderful. Well, definitely a very ambitious project for sure. Moderators, who has a question or a comment on for Jeremy, who is certainly working on something really cool?
Jeremy, this is John. I was just wondering, I know I gave you a contact at the Department of Defense for some grant money. I was wondering if they responded or if you made contact with James.
Yeah, James Africano. I actually hooked up with him on Clubhouse. We chatted for a couple minutes, and I have a meeting with him tomorrow.
Excellent.
which is really awesome. Very excited to talk to him. We actually got the DoD emailed us today. They put us directly in touch with their contracting representative over there, which is a extremely good sign to get our procurement and contract under wraps in the next couple of months. So that's really exciting. Thank you for that.
Well, that's awesome, John. That is really, really awesome. A really great intro. Who else from the moderators has a question or some feedback? No more questions. Okay. Jeremy, I would have thought we would get a little bit more interaction with you, given what you are working on. But it seems John and you have already connected. And maybe we are missing some of the mods that are more into kind of, sort of government contracts. James, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I'd love to connect offline. I think we're in kind of adjacent spaces. Like there's a part of Banklip which we're focused on robotics in space as well. With NASA and DoD. So we would love to connect and see if there's any synergy.
Yeah, absolutely, James. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And just, want to point out our pipeline is not just defense and government. It also consists of a lot of commercial. So just wanted to put that out there.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in Banklip's in the commodities space, but you never know. Sometimes resources and always look for good strategic opportunities.
Hey,
wonderful. Yep.
Hey, James, I'm not a mod, but would you mind if I asked a question if there aren't more?
Yeah, if you can keep it short, that's fine.
Super short. Jeremy, pleasure talking to you. Hey, I'm curious what the competitive landscape looks like. I think that a lot of us are not that familiar with the private space industry, and so it's a little bit hard for us to wrap our head around kind of where you stand in comparison with competition. Sounds like you're kicking a lot of ass. What does it look like?
Well, whenever you're looking at the robotics in space, there's several companies that are trying to do it. But what you have to understand about space is that there are a lot of companies out there that are trying to build a gadget, like a very specific technology to put into space. There are very few players that are actually developing a capability to put into space, such as what Rogue is doing with a suite of various orbital robots that have different specializations, but are iterative. So we have a foundational orbot, and we build upon that one to the next more complex system. There are a few. There's Altia Space Machines, which is under Voyager Space Holdings. There's obviously Astroscale. Astroscale's cool, but I feel like they kind of cheated with major induction of cash from the Japanese government. But very cool stuff. We've only been in the landscape for about 10 months, but what most companies have taken 3 to 5 years to do, we've done it in about 10 months, and I think that's all due to the amazing team that I've been able to put together. So thanks for the question.
Wonderful. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your pitch. And we look forward to hearing about your success. And that is great that and good luck with your meeting tomorrow. So thank you again for your pitch.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Cool. Wonderful. Moving forward to sort of keep the momentum going. Braven, are you there?
I am. Sorry, I got dropped earlier.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. Go for it. You have 60 seconds.
Okay. Just a real comment to Jeremy. I have a couple connections too. Hit me up on LinkedIn. And real quick, are you an engineer? I wasn't on for your full.
No, I followed Daddy's advice and went and hired people that are far smarter than me to do this stuff. I'm the vision guy. I'm the relationship guy. I'm the team builder. I'm building a community, and I've been very blessed to build just an absolutely incredible team of engineers. So be happy to hook up with you.
Awesome. Right on. Hey, thank you. What's up, panel? Thank you for allowing me to pitch. So I'm going to try a new pitch here, but yeah, so 60 seconds starts now. Hi, I'm Braven Greenelsh. I'm the founder and CEO at 3Good. We are a social impact B2B SaaS venture. We're a platform selling to HR, helping them fight burnout and attrition with an employee mental well-being platform. We're based in Los Angeles. We're pre-seed. I've raised $500K to date. I'm signing my first 12-month contracts next week, collectively worth about $250K on signing, which was unexpected and early, but exciting. I just brought on a CPO, former Intuit, to be on my founding team. And my basic problem here is burnout. Companies are spending $190 billion on burnout every year, and we're trying to put ESG, social impact, together with psychology to help them get better predictive analytics to fight burnout and attrition. My ask is $500,000. I have $300,000 committed on a safe that I'm closing in April 15th, and I'd like to get some interested investors on board. I'm Braven, and I'm finished speaking. Thank you.
So, Braven, I've got a question for you. What is your take on that recent thing that was going around about what was going on at I think was it Goldman or is it Citibank? One of those. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Yeah, the
there's a
guys
lot
from
going on around Gold.
yeah, the guys from the San Francisco office, right?
Yeah.
There was a survey too that they came out. 13 of them. I think it was Goldman. I don't know if it was SF or New York, but Spencer, I think that's what you mean.
No, I was just curious if Braven had heard of it and what his take was on it.
Yeah, I haven't.
So I would just encourage you to go check that out. I think it's been a lot in the news recently, and I think this is the type of question to me that builds confidence in if you know the space, because I think that's it's a big deal right now there, and so I think when you come to investors, they might ask questions like that just to check out if you're in the loop, and so not a big deal here, but I think that's just one thing to really shore up.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm on the fundraising train right now, so not spending too much time in the news.
Hey, Braven, this is Ryan. To Spencer's point, I mean, I actually posted on it, and you would have got my attention even more, but you have my attention just because of the space. I mean, I've worked or done work with Cenovitz and other HR software SaaS platforms. The thing that I want to ask you, I guess, is it seems like you're going after some of the bigger clients to get that bigger check. Do you have a subscription model or a package that touches the SMEs specifically, where they can come into the platform to get that advice? One, and two, how would you stack up against your competitors? Because I think your competitors would be kind of all over the places, even app-based to a certain degree.
Absolutely, great question. Thanks, Ryan. So yeah, we do have an SMB package right now. It's a 30-day free trial, $2 per employee per month. We find that price is actually really competitive. And right now we have 2,500 employees on the platform, which is beta, unlaunched. We're in soft launch now. And that's with no marketing dollars. That's across 25 companies.
Hey, Braven, is this a non-paid beta, I assume?
Can you repeat that?
I was asking if it was a non-paid beta or if it was a paid beta.
Yeah, so it's a 30-day free trial, but paid beta. They're all in the $2 per employee per month program, those 2,500 employees across the 25 companies. Also, I will note, there's an appetite for this at all levels of HR manager, all the way up to benefits director, and also CHRO. So I'm trying to bring in the enterprise clients to continue to kind of deal with my working capital, build my team as I ramp up for seed round, while at the same time, do the SMB model and get the downloads and the conversions with content marketing.
Great. Well, thank you, Braven, for what you're working on, and for any of the mods or for anybody in the audience who is interested in what Braven is working on, definitely reach out to him. Braven, obviously, as we the mods mentioned, definitely working on something really, really cool. I personally suffered from a burnout a couple of times. I would say lately, things have been my kind of work-life balance is much more balanced, but definitely been in sort of a position of kind of like working too much. So definitely think that what you're working on is very, very cool. So thank you again. And we look forward to your since you're kind of like in the middle of raising in sort of April 15th, would be great to have you, if you want to come back in 3-4 weeks and come pitch again, even if you're if you're done with your raise, but would love to kind of hear your kind of like your progress as you're growing pretty fast, and you're raising some pretty good money and at a pretty good rate. So thank you again.
Thank you. And one last comment I'll make to all you is burnout. This is very interesting. Burnout is the only mental health disorder on the spectrum. It's an early spectrum disorder. It's the only one that's directly tied to work. And so that's why our product is directly attacking burnout, and no other platform close to what we're doing is doing that. They're all focused on telehealth, digital health, critical stage spectrum. So thank you all. I'm Braven. I'm done speaking.
Great. Thank you, Braven, and thank you for clarifying that. Cool. Well, moving on. Matt, you are up next. Are you ready?
Hey, I am ready. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Give us some enthusiasm, and you have 60 seconds.
Okay, well, this is a great product for burnout on the personal level. Okay, my 60 seconds starts now. So my company, Dreamfully, is a digital wellness app that helps you manage your stress and anxiety through visually guided mindfulness aids. 65% of all people are visual learners, but when you look at the available mindfulness or meditation apps, it's quite limited to almost exclusively audio experiences. So, through visual customizable features, we make practicing mindfulness more engaging, easy, and effective. The best way to understand is to try, but you can envision practicing guided breathing and then going on a mindfulness journey through a forest with a baby deer. We're currently in closed beta, helping 94% of our segmented early adopters relax within 4 minutes of using our app. Please sign up for the waitlist. There's a link in my bio if you're at all curious or would like to de-stress. And I think that's my 60 seconds. If it's not, we have an awesome team.
Hey,
Yes,
Matt,
no,
Ted.
thank you. If you finished, Ted, go for it.
Hey, Matt. How many early adopters do you have?
So we're segmenting these and onboarding them in a controlled way so we could get pretty specific data for different groups. Right now we have about 300.
And is there any evidence-based data? Beyond what you're collecting already, because it sounds like you're collecting, but is there any evidence-based data that helps to back up what you're suggesting in terms of visual mindfulness meditation?
Absolutely. There's a lot of data actually, aside from the self-reported data we're collecting. So one example is there's a lot of evidence that shows for novice meditators, people who don't have a seated practice for 30 minutes a day, that using visual cues to meditate really helps with their focus and their ability to get through a session, because otherwise it's a little harder for them to, I guess, like not get overwhelmed by their thoughts. That's one. There's also a lot of evidence that some of the visual imagery we incorporate, for example, nature, animals, scenes of compassion, has a great effect on your mental health, stress levels, etc. Those are two quick examples, but there's a little more I could talk about as well.
Great, thanks. I realized it was 60. You had 60 seconds, but I think that's an important thing. If I was to offer a piece of advice, make sure you work that into your pitches. But I realize you had some time constraints. I'm happy to talk to you offline if you want. So feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you.
Hey, Matt. So one thing I've seen, at least in the mindfulness space, is that in certain ways it's not a crowded space, but in other ways it is. And so much as like there's a lot of just big communities that are very tight knit, that sort of centralize around a certain school of thought. And I'm just my curiousness here is do you see this as a platform that you're going to build out to compete with the sort of instructor-driven mindfulness discussion like world? Is this for a different user demographic? How do you think about this product?
Yeah, good question. I don't see ourselves directly competing with like live mindfulness coaches. That's more of an intensive thing. I honestly don't even see us competing with Headspace and Calm, because the value proposition that's going to lead someone to go sit down in a quiet place, close their eyes, and listen to someone's voice for 30 minutes isn't exactly the same as someone who's going to open up the app, our app, the same way you would scroll through TikTok or Instagram and get some visually guided tools in the moment. So it really is a different value proposition, but who we're targeting are people who do care about their mental health. They want more balance, more calm, more focus during the day, but they don't necessarily have the wherewithal to pause what they're doing and do a deeper dive into a more traditional mindfulness or meditation practice, which in the future we'd like to incorporate that as well, that transition. But for now, we want to make our impact quick and early.
That's super cool. DM me. I want to try it out. I think it'll the execution is gonna be really important here, but I could see a world in which that was super cool. So
Thank you so much. Funny question. I can't see who was talking. Who just said that?
Oh, this is Spencer up at the top.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Great.
This is super interesting. This is Andrew. Super interesting. Good consumer, so it's not for us, but super, super interesting to me.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Try the beta.
Yeah, Matt. So yeah, thank you again so much for coming to pitch. I would definitely love to try the beta. If you can DM me and would be happy to do. And sort of as you launch, again, would love to have you come back, but definitely want to try the beta myself. I've done some sort of like on and off meditation. And but I am very, very a very visual person, which is why when people pitch, I like to kind of like follow along and kind of go check out their kind of like the website. I did go to your website, and I know again you guys are in beta and you guys have a kind of like a form, but would love to try it out. And yeah, I think what you're doing is a very, very cool approach. So looking forward to testing it out.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Yeah, again, if anybody's curious in the audience, the link to sign up is in my bio. And thank you again so much. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, definitely reach out to me, Matt, as I'll definitely want to be a sort of beta tester, and definitely would love to talk about it to a lot of people. So cool. Matt,
look forward to it.
Awesome. Cool. Looking forward to connecting. Cool. Next up is Sandra. You are up next. Give us some enthusiasm. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Hi everyone, my name is Sandra. I'm a director of Plug and Play Connect and Plug and Play Tech Center. So we are a Silicon Valley based venture firm focusing on early stage tech deals. I love to connect talents or entrepreneurs across the country. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me your pitch deck for the if you're looking for the start investors.
Okay, so Sandra, I imagine you we're not here to pitch. You're just looking for to connect with other entrepreneurs, correct?
Yes, yes. The Plug and Play, it's a.
Sandra, you muted yourself. Sandra, are you there? We lost you and you muted yourself. Okay, Sandra, we'll come back to you, as I'm not sure what happened with your audio. So we'll come back to you. Adrian, are you there? Adrian?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go for it. You have 60 seconds.
Awesome. So, hey everyone, my name is Adrian Garcia. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FinCom. It's a B2B SaaS with usage-based pricing. Now, 94% of unknown calls go unanswered, and I don't know about you, but I've certainly received a lot in this past week. But the big thing here is 63% of businesses report negative impact from not being able to reach customers by phone because an unknown number looked like spam to anyone else. Consumer trust in unknown calls and messages is at all-time lows. Our patented technique monetizes spam in calls, texts, and social media direct messages. We combine blockchain with telecommunication. We just got this patent granted in that last November. We're really happy about that. One thing we have to know here, the cold call is never going to die, even with government and telecom oversight. So we made Karma Call, which is a mobile app that gets consumers paid for blocking bad calls and paid even more for accepting good calls. Our platform lets users decide their rate, which is how much they need to be paid in order to answer and continue a conversation. Users also get paid to upload their demographics and psychographics. This enables targeted marketing and increases the amount that our users can get paid. And our customers can search for the personas they need and pay our users per feedback or engagement. And we make money by taking a commission from those payments. Our primary verticals are market research firms, business development managers, and real estate brokers. And we just onboarded our chief revenue officer, who's a 3-time serial entrepreneur who's founded 3 mobile money and telecom startups in Brazil. He was working on mobile money before iPhone and Bitcoin were even invented. And I think that's super cool. So we have 1,000 monthly active users on Karma Call who received 20,000 payouts for blocked phone call. And we're looking for a connection to a lead investor for a $1 million round in exchange for 15%. We're going to use that money to build out our IT and Salesforce team. My name's Adrian, and thank you for listening. I'm done talking.
Adrian, Adrian, a quick question. How many monthly active users did you say? I missed that number.
We have 1,000 monthly active users right now. Yep.
And how long ago did you launch?
September 2020.
Okay. Moderators.
I just want to chime in on the pitch first, and then I'll let. I think you did a great job on the way you took data in the beginning and kind of got people's attention and tried to create kind of a familiarity of, hey, everyone has this problem. Here's a problem I'm trying to solve. Here's our monthly users. Here's who we have. So I know we also pick on other pitches of how to make better, but I think it's also for the audience to know what you did was what you were trying to do, storytelling. So kudos to you on kind of keeping it concise and keeping us following through your pitch. At least in my eyes, I thought it was a good story, good pitch.
Hi, this is John. I'm kind of tired. I'm on the East Coast, but I think I did the math correctly. Did you just value your company at $6.7 million?
That's right.
So can you walk us through why the justification on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So we just got our utility patent granted, which is a game theory approach to the phone spam problem and actually the spam problem in general. It's the same kind of patent that Cisco and IBM were trying to go for, but they just weren't as cool as we were. I'm kidding. But no, we added a new component where we look at, basically there's been a new technology change in the past 5 years where we can now have this micro payments platform to enable the volume of nano payments you need to make this sort of thing happen. So we managed to get that patent, which is a really cool time-based way to eliminate spam. And we also got the business method for once you get someone to trust you, you can start to pay them and elicit feedback and conversation from them. So we were able to patent that, and the same thing too. But what's more important than that is our team. We built out this backend on our own, just completely bootstrapped, and just onboarded this great serial entrepreneur who's done this before in the past and has the connection to network to leverage our technology into the telemarketers in Brazil. I'm going to stop there before I start.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I have one question, Adrian? How do you prevent someone maliciously blocking someone's calls, and how does that impact the person whose call is blocked? Right? Is there a chance for someone to act out of faith of the platform and cause harm to someone unduly?
So we don't really account for that. If you're going to be blocking people's calls maliciously, just so that you can get a little payout for blocking those calls, that's totally, you're right. You can 100% do that. Also, if you're going to pick up a call and then hang up on it to collect that deposit that they would get back otherwise, that's also in your right entirely. And the good thing is, the more that you do that, the more the caller will get the message that they really shouldn't be calling you. They'll just lose money.
But I have a question here, because could I then just purposely try and get a bunch of calls and block them and sort of farm the system to mine your coin?
Absolutely. So that's actually part of the economics in our payout decision. So we actually only pay out 1/100th of a penny, but it costs we pay out less than it costs to make a phone call. So even if you went the complete opposite route and just, built an entire telecommunication network just to abuse this thing, it will cost you more money to make those calls than we pay out. The funny thing is we don't tell anyone how much we pay out. We just use those tiny little amounts so that we can market ourselves as a cashback phone spam blocker. It's pretty fun. You get to, play with people's positive triggers in the head when you talk about cashback like that. I hope that answers the question.
That's very interesting. No, that actually was a quite a good answer to that question.
Wonderful. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for your pitch. If anybody from the moderators or from the audience is interested in what Adrian is working on, be sure to reach out to him. And Adrian, good luck on what you guys are doing. Feel free to come back in 5-6 weeks and please let us know how things are going. And congratulations on this latest hire, which you seem to be very, very excited about. So thank you for coming to pitch. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Adrian. Cool. Next up is Amy. And Arlene. Arlene, I see you are in the audience. Try to pull you up. So if you want to come up, you are certainly invited to us. I know you are an absolute rock star. Cool. Amy, you're up next. You have 60. We'll do Arlene's intro right after Amy. Amy, you have 60 seconds. Give us a lot of enthusiasm. Go for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So women make up more than 50% of the workforce, but only 9% of engineers or 20% of STEM careers are filled by females. So research shows that a large part of the STEM gender gap can actually be traced back to the types of toys children played with during childhood. A quick walk down the toy aisle and you'll quick to see why. So girls, when you walk down the girls section, what you're going to see is babies, 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 and more babies, play kitchen sets, and lots of self-enhancement and makeup sets, and everything else to imagine a life of domestic bliss. None of these toys build the essential visual spatial skills at the most important time of brain development when neuroplasticity is maximized, and visual spatial skills are absolutely necessary for success in STEM. Looking at the boys section, you'll see a widely different story, a plethora of construction toys that not only focus on STEM, but are centered around far more ambitious play themes like building rocket ships and exploring Mars. My name's Amy Tanner. I'm a PhD university faculty and founder and CEO of Ace & Riley, a woman-run Vancouver startup dedicated to transforming the way girls play. Ace & Riley is committed to leveling the STEM playing field for girls by creating more cognitively enriching toys, activities, and experiences that promote curiosity, problem solving, and exposure to foundational STEM skills while embracing and encouraging a lot of sass and fun. We launched in December 2020 and did 10K of sales within the first month without any formal advertising or marketing. We've bootstrapped everything and are cash positive. However, I would love a strategic mentor that specializes in branding, marketing, and scaling social impact e-com who could help guide us with some of our more highly ambitious future plans. The global toy industry is a $90 billion industry, and girls' toys have barely evolved in decades. It's time to revolutionize girls' toys. Thank you.
Hi, Amy. I absolutely love what you're working on. Thank you so much for tackling this. I think this is one of those paradigm shifts that kind of needs to happen in the toy industry. But my question to you is, at what level does that decision get made? For example, I think one of the big things with the toy world, at least as I've seen, especially in retail, in Walmart, etc., is where the toys are and who the purchasing decision maker has decided to make. So are you going to be your own store, or are you going to try and go through channel partners? And if so, are there any channel partners on your horizon, or who would you be trying to talk to at something like a Walmart to get this toy brand in there? Are you a toy brand, or are you a platform for the toy brands, or are you both?
Yeah, so we're a toy brand, but we're also going to stay vertically integrated for the time being. So we're an e-com shop. And so what I love about this is we can really control the entire guest experience and the education and building the community, and really kind of control the delivery of the packages and making them more boutique-like. So I don't actually envision us ever kind of on a Walmart or Target shelf, but more just setting the bar for kind of that ideal paradigm shift in toys, and then hopefully other companies, those cheaper brands like Mattel and stuff, will follow suit, and they can stock their Target and Walmart. But we would like to kind of stay a bit more luxury, elite, boutique brand of STEM toys.
Amy, Spencer, are you done?
Yeah, no, that was a great answer.
Okay.
Amy,
Okay.
definitely DM me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I may have missed it, but how do you exactly target girls or women with these toys? Girls. I mean, how do you differentiate them from boys' toys?
Yeah, so when you look at toys have been quite a bit stereotypical gendered toys for decades, right? And so just looking down any kind of toy aisle, you'll see a drastic difference in what are put in the boys section, what are put in the girls section, right? You won't see babies put in the boys section. You won't see kitchen sets put in the boys sets. But what this does, it's not just the social messages that we're sending to girls about what's possible in life. Like I think lots of people in this room can relate to how important visualization is to thinking about what you can become. And what are we telling girls when they're not visualizing being doctors or astronauts, but they're just all their play is around everything that happens in the house. Secondly, I think if we were to give a boy something like a dollhouse, we would absolutely give it to them in about 100 pieces, and they would construct it and put it together, and that would be the fun of it. For girls, we give it to them already put together, so they're really getting none of that visual spatial skills. So this has been around in research for decades. You can go back to the 60s and 70s that really show that it's not innate differences in the brain that are formulating these differences in STEM, but it really has to do what types of toys kids played with. And so Harvard did a great study looking at by just giving girls like a 21-day boot camp in Lego, it greatly changes their ability for visual spatial skills, which changes visual.
If I may quickly interrupt, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I get that message, but my question more was, give me an example of a toy that would be, that you would make just for girls.
Just for girls. So we've got lots of science experiments. So we've got like grow your own crystal wand. We've got different electronics. So we're redesigning the dollhouse so that it's not just around a domestic dollhouse, but like a live workspace. So think of like Tony Stark, but for a girl. And so they can do the electronics in it. They can build a Bluetooth speaker in it. So getting girls engaged with things that build these skills, but that are more kind of fun and sassy.
So toys that they're used to, but with a STEM bent on it. Got it.
Yeah, we've got a pink chess set that's really cool. We've got a doctor set with like a real stethoscope. We've added a tutu to a lot of our packages that make it just a bit more fun.
So I happen to know another entrepreneur in the same space, but not necessarily just for girls.
Yeah.
But construction toys basically for children. You probably would. It would be good to connect you with her. She's based in Southern California. Happy to make that connection. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Sure. I didn't see who was speaking there.
This is Rajan.
Rajan. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Amy. So there's one thing that I just wanted to point out for me that didn't quite sit right in that response, and I just wanted to say it because I think it could help you improve how you're talking about this. All of the products you mentioned were versions of sort of gendered toys that are like gendered, but also towards science. And I wonder, maybe I just missed this part of it. Are you going to have any products that are just traditionally not thought of or adjacent to gendered female toys for girls who might just not be into girly girl things and might want, the battle axe or something? And just, I think there could be something pretty cool to, be at all girls toy store and have items that are not only gendered, but and also science, but also sort of traditionally on the other side of the aisle, and it might just invite people to buy those type of toys for their kids. Is that something you considered?
Yeah, so super great question. We do have some things like just a microscope, which is very gender neutral. But what we're really looking at is, because kids are so conditioned literally from birth, even around packaging, that by the time girls are even 2 and 3, or both boys or girls, they already know which toys were designed for them. They can pick out what are girls' toys, what are boys' toys, and then they only gravitate towards what they believe were made for them. So there are definitely lots of other companies out there making a good amount of gender-neutral STEM toys. And so that will attract already some customers and some girls. But there's a whole group of girls that have been brought up on Barbie and princesses. And so that's kind of the group that we're going after, where it's a bigger bridge to build, like, get them over to those gender neutral toys. And so we're very open and flexible with our product line, but we are trying to capture, that very traditional girl mom, girly girl that might not have another pathway into STEM if we don't kind of build a bridge through things that, they've already been conditioned for about 4 or 5 years. And so if you think about, the girls that just love, Frozen and Elsa, it's like, what if Elsa had like a side hustle of like fixing rocket ships? Like the impact that would have on so many girls of getting them interested in space would be huge. So I feel like we kind of really need to get over to their level of what they've already interested in, because they've been so deeply conditioned for, 5 years already, that just kind of presenting them with boys' toys, I think, or, things that have been more traditionally boys, I think that's going to just be a harder sell to get them into these subjects, if that makes sense.
Great.
Yeah, I'd love to continue the conversation, but yeah, offline.
Cool. Well, Amy, thank you so much for your pitch. Definitely, obviously, working on something really, really cool. It really, stood out to me when you said that, for kids who are, 2 and 3 year olds, they already kind of know which toys are designed for them. So, really like the kind of concept that you're working on of really, kind of expanding that, for kids and not really kind of like, determining such early on, so that really kids can explore a lot more, as opposed to here's your toy and this is what you're supposed to play with, kind of thing, right? So I really like the sort of the concept, and make sure you connect with Spencer. I think he had some really good points, some really good questions. So thank you, Amy, for your pitch.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you. Cool. Moving on, Tayo, before I move on to you, we have 3 moderators that would love to have them intro. Arlene, great to have you back. You are a rock star, and you have a huge fan club, just like Julie, who is actually, by the way, is not here. So we're missing Julie, but we definitely have Arlene. So really great to have you, Arlene. How are you? And if you could do a quick intro.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here. I'm missing Julie too. She's always so great to listen to. VC based in Canada, invest in the CPG, food, health, wellness, and personal care space. Also have an accelerator, and been a dragon on Dragon's Den, which is the Canadian version of Shark's Tank, for about 13 seasons now. So seen lots of pitches and looking forward to listening to more of the pitches tonight. They've been great so far. Thanks for having me up. I'm done speaking.
Wonderful. Well, great to have a dragon in the room. I'm still waiting for a shark to join the room, but so it's great to have a dragon in the room for sure. So thank you, Arlene, for joining. And next up is Anthony. Well, Anthony somehow dropped right before we're about to introduce him. But Christian, you are here. Great to have you back. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I think Anthony might have been your shark that you were missing. Maybe that's why he left. But yeah, pleased to be here. Christian, based in San Francisco from the UK originally, and been operating my own business for the last 25 years in the travel space. So happy to be here. I just started a SaaS company as well in the last couple of years. So I love to deal with anything to do with travel industry or SaaS or technology.
Wonderful. Well, great to have you here, Christian. Well, Anthony will come back at some point. So anyway, moving forward, Tayo, you are next. Give us some enthusiasm, and you have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Tayo Sadiq. I'm CEO and co-founder of AirSync. So what we do at AirSync, AirSync provides aerial surveillance services, persistent aerial surveillance services. So aerial surveillance systems, basically aircraft and drones, have limited flight time, and that limits their mission capabilities in the security and defense space. So we built a helium balloon lifted unmanned aerial surveillance system that provides persistent surveillance for up to 90 days, coupled with AI threat detection. So basically more like Ring for aerial surveillance. So with our team's unique combination of skills from hardware and software backgrounds, we offer a solution that brings the best of both worlds in satellite technologies and drones, basically, in a simple and cost-effective package. We have built our engineering MVP and have had about 400 hours of flight time, with about 160 hours of it being continuous flights. That's about 7 days without landing and doing aerial surveillance. And then we've secured interest from over 8 enterprises across military, maritime surveillance, oil and gas, agriculture security across Africa and Asia. We're raising a 200K pre-seed to kick off a paid pilot project with about 3 early bird customers that have signed up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Tayo, it sounds really, really interesting what you are working on. Certainly, congrats. Moderators, who has a question or a comment?
Hey, Tayo. So congrats on what you're working on. It sounds super cool. One thing I just think you should be, and I'm curious if other moderators have an opinion on this. I think it's really hard for a U.S. investor to invest in a defense contractor that defense contracts for other countries, especially with Asia, because the State Department diligence into like investments into foreign companies is really like it's kind of a nightmare, and a lot of people don't want to go through it. And I'm offering this because I think there are some really great investors that you can go to, especially in Asia, but it's really I wouldn't touch it, and I know a lot of people also wouldn't touch it just because you don't want to have to sort of go through that State Department stuff. And I say this because as an entrepreneur, I feel like one of the big things is how do you manage your time. So who can you pitch to that is in Asia probably is going to be your better bet in terms of who can fund you if it's already being defense contracted there.
Moderators, any comments or feedback, and specifically what Spencer said, because I think he brings up a really good point.
Spencer is spot on. Anyone we do that has anything to do with defense, they can have the U.S. as a customer, and only after that can we consider a company that's doing other countries as well, because generally the U.S. will basically give a yay or a nay to whether that company can sell to other countries, and if the product has to be different or not. So that's good as well. So we try not to invest in defense contractors, but some of our companies sell to governments and defense agencies.
The one perhaps exception to that is, and I don't know this, it could be that this isn't an exception. I don't know what would happen if you pitched to AFWorks, which is the like U.S. military accelerator. Like they might be interested in just acquiring this, but you'd probably have to end any contracts abroad. But if there is like a way to get funding, maybe, I don't know. But that would be the only thing that I think might not be subject to that, because it's the government itself doing the investing.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make some clarifications. Currently, we only do defense contracts with our own home country here in Nigeria. Every other contract or customer sign-ups has actually been purely commercial. And then we also try as much as possible to be careful with the countries that we tend to engage with in that sense, basically. And then we're also looking on towards doing a Delaware incorporation in the US, such that we are also binded by US regulatory compliance rules and the likes.
Okay. Well, Tayo, thank you so much for coming to pitch. And it definitely seems like you need to kind of like make sure you are pitching to the right person. But as per Spencer's point, I think a lot of the moderators in this room are going to be obviously hesitant to kind of like get involved. Pete, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in and kind of echo what everyone else was kind of stating, and then you kind of hit it like on the nail too, Tayo, in that you're talking about risk isolation. And this is coming from someone who's an investor now, but I used to be an expert and executive at Honeywell, and we used to look at specifically risk isolation as part of our M&A strategy and evaluation for those up-and-comers that had something special, but we also were looking at risk isolation, and that's coming from one of the world's larger defense contractors itself. So I think if you're risk isolating, then you just look for the right investment partners that are okay with whatever perceived risk or the isolation that you have. And then, yeah, I like the idea of the incubator approach that's focused on defense. That might be a good lead for you from Spencer. So I'm Pete DeMar.
Great.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
yes, Tayo, thank you so
Please,
much
Spencer, how
for
can
your
I
pitch.
reach you?
Just if you tap on Spencer's bio, his socials are connected, and you can just either DM him. He says he prefers DMs on Twitter, so just tap on his Twitter and send him a DM through Twitter.
All right, thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Tayo. Cool. Moving on, Brandon, you're up next. You have 60 seconds.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Brandon. I'm the founder and CEO of Bev Karma. Bev Karma is an experiential beverage company that inspires a positive drinking culture for change and creates future generations of enlightened bevologists. We achieve this through our Bev Kit experiences. These are curated by expert mixologists using the freshest ingredients and craft spirit brands. It's delivered directly to our members' doors weekly and or monthly. Each Bev Kit represents a charitable donation to a rotational list of our nonprofit partners we raise awareness for. So with Bev Karma, the more you drink, the more you make an impact. Bev Karma is uniquely positioned to become an industry leader in the cocktail kit space. We have the first SLA-compliant, all-in-one cocktail kit experience. This allows us to seamlessly fulfill orders and ship them directly to consumers in 30 states nationwide via third-party carriers like FedEx, UPS, Amazon, and DoorDash. Our go-to-market strategy focuses on customized experiences based on our members' at-home needs, preferences, and behaviors with unique inbox integrations from vendors in music, gaming, social apps, and wellness leisure spaces, as well as strategic partners in the food, coffee, and cannabis industries. Overall, our team's experience includes technology, hospitality, cannabis, corporate beverage, marketing, finance, beauty, and consumer products. We've worked with some of the biggest brands, including Pepsi, Diageo, Samsung, Revlon, IBM, and Pfizer. It's our belief that we can lead the way in impactful moments inspired by a greater understanding for the power of beverage. And we always encourage everyone to, raise a glass, cheers to change, and drink it forward. Thank you.
Hey, Brandon, that was a good pitch. I just had a couple questions. One, what is your unit economics? And two, you talked about go-to-market strategy, but could you unpack that just a little bit more? Because I was kind of confused by that part.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, so we're actually looking to partner with various vendors to have in-kit integrations, both virtual and physically inside the kit. So we want to kind of curate packages that best fit our members' at-home behaviors. So what we found in doing some market research is that it's still COVID. Obviously, people are still doing virtual events. But they're starting to kind of, come back to some sort of normalcy. So we would reach out to like Tinder or Bumble, and we would have like kind of dating experience based around kind of our Bev Kit experiences. If you're someone who has had a long day, you've got kids, you got a family, you want to just kick back, relax. We have a relaxation package where we partner with like, calming apps, puzzle apps, free ebook download, and of course like wellness leisure products like Lush. And then I think the biggest winner here that we figured out so far is bringing the connectivity of everyone together through a kind of a shared virtual experience. We want to bring the vibrancy of the bar to people's homes. And we would do this through like open source networking, like Zoom channels. We would, of course, have like customized playlists that are specifically curated for these events through Spotify. And of course, we're looking at this platform as well. Just to kind of have like happy hours and special events that are kind of geared around the Bev Kit experience.
Yeah, for sure. And like community, the route of community is always a smart move, especially in this day and age. We have so much access with like Clubhouse and Zoom and all that. So I think that's really smart. But what's your unit economics?
Yeah, totally. So how we do it is it ranges in terms of like the kits that we provide. And I should just say, like, we're not trying to pressure people into becoming members. It's not like an initiation fee. It's weekly and or monthly. You can kind of switch back and forth, whatever works best for your schedule. And you can cancel anytime, right? So essentially, like the intro package is like a 4-drink kit. That starts at $50. And the cost to make that for us is $23. We have one of our largest kits would be a 12 to 14 drink kit. It's roughly a 750 milliliter bottle, a spirit. That would be $150. And then we have party size kits as well. That kind of just is, custom inquiry as far as price value.
Very cool. I'll let the other panelists ask some questions. But cool, really cool, good pitch.
Thank you so much.
One last question or comment from the moderators. Who has a question?
Do you have a VR headset experience with that as well?
I mean, that would be fantastic. My other venture is an augmented reality software company. But yeah, we're definitely open to any sort of experience that we think would kind of build upon what our offering, basically. So yeah, we're very open.
Yeah, I think the unit economics wouldn't make sense from my perspective, but I think there's ways to improve on that. That's just my thought on it. But yeah, no, cool, very cool.
Yeah, Brandon, I also just want to give a piece of feedback that like when you come up to pitch and you have a different company linked in your bio, it makes me like on the investment side sort of question your commitment to either company, right? Because like, and I think that's just something to address for sure. Because your company sounds super cool, but from my perspective, it's sort of a turnoff from an investment just from the like mostly an investment from at this stage is like an investment in the founder and their commitment to the thing you're working on, and that would just concern me if you're working on two things. If that makes sense.
That totally makes sense, and thank you. That's some great feedback, Spencer. Yep.
Great. Well,
Brandon, sorry.
Go ahead, Arlene.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. I was just going to say, Brandon, like at the beginning of your pitch, I thought, wow, this is interesting. And it's interesting to deliver these curated experiences with, mixologists. And I love that. And then I have to tell you that you kind of lost me with the complexity of what you started to say. I'm going to do this and I'm going to add that and I'm going to do all these other things. And really your idea in its simplicity is probably the magic of it. And as soon as you start to say, I'm going to, add all these other things into it that aren't really related to the experience you're trying to create, I found it very difficult to want to invest with it. So I would try and simplify your pitch down. You have lots of enthusiasm. I definitely agree with what Spencer said around making sure that you're not showing up with two different companies, because we want to make sure that our entrepreneurs that we invest in are very focused on the business. But good luck with it, and interesting idea.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, Brandon, this is Amy. I just wanted to see if there's any way that you can get your price point down. I've had quite a few partnerships with some major spirits brands, Ciroc and Bacardi, over the years, and they do a lot of this with like top global mixologists, where you can easily go to their social media or to, their websites and see drinks for any occasion or any season. And they work with influencers really extensively on getting like those actual cocktails out on air and such. So how would you break through, or maybe your price point was, it scared me off, to be quite honest, because I would be a consumer of what you're offering. But I just felt that compared to myself just downloading a great couple of recipes from one of Ciroc's mixologists and, getting the ingredients that they lay out, it's about a third to a fourth of the price of what you're suggesting. So that was a little bit concerning. I hope I'm helpful. This is
Amy. Absolutely, you're very helpful, and thank you for that insight. Actually, so Bev Karma is focusing in on craft spirit brands only. We see this as a great place to niche ourselves compared to our competitors. Another great thing in terms of competitive landscape is there is a really big issue with logistics, and that's something I didn't quite highlight as well in that pitch. As an off-premise licensed liquor retailer, we can fulfill this with complete compliance to 30 states nationwide. So, we're not missing the beat, and we're getting to people's doorsteps on time using our third-party carriers. Our launch market is here in New York City. We'll be talking with Amazon. They have a 2-hour window delivery for spirits to direct to consumer. We would kind of be their sole cocktail kit provider in this market. And as we continue to expand brick and mortar spaces in Austin, Chicago, Amazon and DoorDash are already kind of operating in that space as well. But overall, Amy, absolutely, we are working. I have a fantastic team. They have experience in big beverage like Diageo, and I have a lot of beverage directors coming in consulting, and we're trying to find the best price point. We don't want to scare folks away. I mean, it's 4 cocktails essentially for $50. It's a little over $10 a cocktail, but it really is more about building the experience around it. And I think overall, I think what any beverage brand is trying to figure out is how do you bottle that genuine connection that you have with a bartender or mixologist. So much so that if they were to leave that bar or whatever, where you're a regular at, you would not, want to go back, even though it's essentially the same space, the same product, the same menu. So we're really trying to tap into that and really try to figure that out for, a genuine connection to our consumer.
Great. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for your pitch. And if anybody's interested in what Brandon is working on, be sure to reach out to him. I just want to make sure we keep moving. But Brandon, again, very cool what you're working on, and thank you again for your pitch. Cool. Cool. Moving on, Jackson, you are next. Before that, we have a couple mods who joined us. Anthony, you had joined us about 10 minutes ago. Then all of a sudden you disappeared for no reason, but you are back. Great to have you. How are you? And if you could do a quick intro.
Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Another great room hosted by Bernardo, where you can pitch your startup to VCs and top entrepreneurs. Thank you for having me. That's my daughter screaming in the background. That's why I disappeared. Daddy got to rock his baby girl. But if you're more interested in learning more about me, check out my profile. My OnlyFans link is in there so we can get to know each other. Thank you. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Anthony. And yes, the little one is obviously requiring your attention, but we look forward to having you back. Cool. Kevin and I went to school together at UNC, and we went to business school. Kevin was, in my opinion, by far the smartest guy in the business school. He went on to work with some really awesome companies, and I went to work with Ernst & Young. Yeah, Kevin and I have kept in touch, and now he's also on Clubhouse. So really, really cool when you were able to connect with kind of like a friend from university, and now kind of like we're both on stage here. So really great to have you, Kevin. If you could do a quick intro, that would be awesome.
Thanks for the lovely and kind intro, Bernardo. Very kind of you. So yeah, Kevin Hahn. I am CFO of Biological Dynamics. We're a liquid biopsy company. I spent almost a decade and a half in New York investing in healthcare. So for those pitching healthcare ideas, love to be helpful in any way, and looking forward to hearing all the pitches tonight. Thanks for having me, Bernardo.
Wonderful. Kevin, great to have you on this panel. And yes, cool. Let's keep moving forward. So Jackson, you are up next. You have 60 seconds. Be sure to give us enthusiasm. So go for it.
Yo, enthusiasm. I am here for it. How's it going?
Good.
Good, man. So I'm the CEO and founder of Lounge VR. Amy, Arlene, Bernardo, Spencer, and Jonathan. Which of you has tried VR recently, virtual reality?
I have at a friend's house recently, about 5 months ago. Very, very cool.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm at. I just got my first headset recently. And here's my deal. I fundamentally believe that Clubhouse drop-in has real legs in a digital future. But there's a giant unmet opportunity with the 50 million people that use virtual reality every month. We all know how to start or find a room here in Clubhouse, right? It's pretty damn easy. But how the hell do you do the same thing in virtual reality? So that's what we're working on. We built Clubhouse for VR. We have around 10,000 beta users. 1,000 of them are paying $10 a month for premium accounts. You need a premium account to host rooms or join VIP rooms. And as a host, you can choose from preset groups of environments like a Swiss chalet, a campfire, and you can add items like pool tables or hot tubs for people to kind of interact with. So customer acquisition is easy. We just talk to people here on Clubhouse. We send them a pre-written script A lot of people are already on VR, so it's not that hard. Our CAC is around 20 cents. Our LTV looks to be around $300 based on customer surveys. And our MAU is 5,000 users, or around 50%. So our team includes senior product people from Oculus, Clubhouse, and Zoom, and we have a chief growth officer from WhatsApp. And that's kind of where we're at right now. One of our focuses is real names or kind of real identity. So we're trying to kind of tie together the idea of not having bullshit avatars and bullshit names, but trying to make VR a little bit more real, a little bit more like Clubhouse, take a little bit of weird out and make it, you know, in these COVID times, a little bit more like getting together at a bar, getting together at your favorite founder's house, whatever it is, and having a conversation about what matters to you, the problems you're having. And that is why we're all here at Clubhouse, and that's what we can do in VR. That's all I got.
Okay. And Jackson, a quick question. You said your CAC is 20 cents?
CAC's 20 cents, and so we basically take the hourly wage of people here on Clubhouse divided by signups.
Okay, and you said your LTV is what?
LTV, so we have no idea, right? We're new to all this, but based on minimal survey data, we'd say $300. So we're taking $10 per month, and then kind of estimated lifetime value based on how much interest people show in the product and how long they plan to stay with it. Again, we have no idea. Ultimately, we haven't been here that long, but based on minimal survey data, we'd say $300.
Okay, because those numbers seem either like way too good or just something seems a little bit off when your CAC is 20 cents and your LTV is 300. I mean, if those are real, then obviously you have, you know, this ridiculous business model, like ridiculously profitable business model. But yeah, I'm just wondering about kind of like the sort of the numbers because those sound like too good to be true. I don't know. What do all the moderators think?
If you can show me those numbers, let's take a meeting and I will find you money in a moment. If that's true. So DM me and I'm happy to do that. I'll send you my calendar. Let's get in a meeting tomorrow. That's kind of my take.
Sounds good.
I think Jackson, like where you're kind of hearing the skepticism here is a lot of us have kind of, you know, we've been around the block a long time, and you know, I've been in Silicon Valley and been a part of some cool startups, and you know, really seen a lot of great things work and some of the coolest products out there. And I think when you look at underlying models and the black holes that have to be filled, I think that it's really I think it's prudent to not say those numbers on a stage like that, but talk about the other factors and even about some of the, you know, the things that your team can competently work to uncover the black holes. But I think there is a lot of black holes in that space that are just it's too undiscovered at this point.
James, I love that.
For all of us.
So
yeah.
would you mind diving into what the black holes are? I want to know, because right now it feels like the VR world felt yucky, and so I didn't dive in. And I don't know, it felt like virtual dragons and weird avatars, and I don't know, it felt like a kind of an offshoot of gaming culture that I wasn't that interested in. And then COVID hit, and I was just like, where are my people? And you know that. So I think that I want to know where the black holes are to know where to go with it.
So like, just from like a very layman's, like, I'm probably one of the most uneducated people that are bullish on VR, and it's only because my kids are
Frankly,
on it.
ditto.
I'm work with my team in VR now. I I love it. You know, we can whiteboard, we can work through design sprints. It's really cool. So like I do see that, but I do think that kind of where it's at, and I think that, and as far as, you know, the cost to do it really well, and then the cost to kind of reach those audiences, I think it could be done well. But I think, again, the cost to do the tech and then the cost of acquiring that, you're going to like got to hit that initial growth and traction. But after that, becomes a different ball game. So mapping your personas, and doing your qualitative analysis and understanding that really well. I don't know how you guys have done on that side, because you have so many demographics and then so many inaccuracies. Like right now, VR especially for women, and there's a lot of motion sickness and a lot of other kind of side effects from it, which, as far as people might try it, but then, so the technology has a long ways to go, but is going to go there, to solve those things. But there's a lot of, there's barriers there, for kind of continued use, and some of those assumptions on kind of the lifetime value of a customer and so on. That's where I think there could be black holes.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Anthony speaking.
You know what, James? I'm just going to say I deeply agree with you. I think that those are the challenges that we see here. They're probably also the reasons that a Clubhouse isn't going to jump in and eat our lunch. It is challenging to get, there are major reasons not to do what we're doing. And so I think that what's interesting about it is that Clubhouse made it really, really easy to do what we're doing today, right? And you don't actually need a huge number of people on board to do this. You need these micro communities, you need microcosms. And these kind of niche communities actually end up driving really incredible engagement. And there are, again, about 50 million people who are using VR monthly right now. And so within that, the belief is that there are these micro communities who in VR chat or any of the other kind of apps that exist out there, it's actually reasonably challenging to go just create a room. It's reasonably challenging to say oh, hey, I have an idea and I want to spin it up right now and then invite some people who are following me. And so it really is just Clubhouse identical, but in VR. And it doesn't need everyone on board, and doesn't need everyone who's not motion sick on board. I get that. There are real challenges for sure. But there are a lot of people who are there today.
Mr. Klein? Yeah, thank you, Bernardo. I was going to ask, what is your website? Can you tell us a little bit more about your background? Wow, my daughter just said website for the first time. Incredible. Do you have a website? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so deep stealth mode right now. Former founder, and you can DM me for more information. And that's kind of all I can offer right now.
Maybe connect your social media profile to your account or something, and that'll let us do a little digging on you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right now, you're just a tight walking dude. Or I don't know. Is that a boat, or what are you on? What are you doing?
I'm on a boat in that photo, and I'm on a boat in reality right now.
Okay.
Oh, you're in the mask.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, Jackson, thank you so much for your pitch. And good luck with what you're doing. And definitely connect with Spencer. Spencer, let me know if those numbers check out of 20 cent CAC and 300 LTV. If they do, would love to get involved in that. But I would say I am very, very skeptical of those numbers. But Jackson, all the best.
Bernardo, I appreciate the skepticism, and I might be full of shit.
If anyone else on the stage wants to hear the if I think he's full of shit after I meet with him, right up, just DM me.
Yes, I do. Spencer, please, definitely DM me. And seems James also wants to know as well.
Sorry, guys. No, it's good. It's all good. It's all good. We're making fun of you a little bit. It's okay. It's been a long night.
Okay.
I deeply appreciate you, James Spencer. We'll talk later. Bernardo, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you, Jackson. And we appreciate you. Thank you for your pitch. And again, definitely connect with Spencer. Cool. Moving forward, David, you are up next. You have 60 seconds. Go for it.
Oh, Jackson, man, you killed it with the numbers, dude. You're making me hard for me to follow up. The lead-in I'll roll with though is we've got a very Black Mirror-esque product, and we're looking for this is a billion dollar lottery ticket. It's a problem that all of you guys have. You guys are all surrounded by strangers, and the future that I see, and if you guys see this too, maybe you'd feel compelled to invest in two budding entrepreneurs. When you go to a place, you're going to see the social medias of the people around you on your phone. You're not going to have to go and ask people for their contact information. You're going to be able to immediately contact and chat with people without having to share any phone number, and you'll be at a tremendous advantage. It might be a scary thing to think about this world, but based on the timing of everything, it seems so inevitable. We've launched a product that's filling this gap. Just a month ago, we've got 3,000 people in it. A little background on myself, just because you'd be really investing in us. I started an agency that does $500,000 of development work. I've gotten to work on a lot of enterprise products and consumer products. So we're just looking for people who want to take a moonshot on a consumer product that can easily take $1 billion valuation. We've got a killer marketing strategy that's based on a proven model, and we're doing tests right now. We need $600,000 to $800,000. We've already raised $90,000. We've got 2 months left, and we're very open to getting on Zoom with people.
David,
David, this is
sorry. Go ahead, Christian.
So, David, this is Christian above you. It's an interesting idea. It looks like one of those ideas that everybody's thought about in the pub late one night after a few drinks, but not to put a negative slant on it. But you say you got a proven business model. How's it working with your 3,000 users so far?
I'm more meant we have a proven marketing model. We're not monetizing our users, and I'll even mention the investors. So we're already talking with a group of like potential investors, and we're not in any sense pursuing revenue at this point. But like being a location-based platform, if we're able to be the most trusted platform, that will, like, there's a million ways to do that.
David, who's your buyer persona? Sexual predators?
People who want to grow their social media accounts and who are already using dating apps like Tinder, but want to have a more authentic experience that isn't backed by like the stigma around dating and sex hookup culture apps.
So is that what it's for? Because that's the first thing that comes to my mind is like some dudes following some chicks around, or vice versa. You know, is there like an anonymous? Is it? So you're geofencing with the app. I've used, you know, they have plenty of dating apps that do that. What's that one called where you cross paths? But are you
Happen.
Happen. That's the one.
Yeah, this is more based around social media. So people really want to be seen. Exposure is actually, and right now, part of the timing that makes this so necessary, and like, of course, all the COVID stuff, but even more than that, the younger generation is seeing a primacy over their digital identities. And it's actually way more comfortable to meet people if you could see their Instagram first and get a backstory on them. So the younger generation is like fully embracing this in privacy. You know, they share their location with each other on Snapchat maps. Like, I can make friends with people on TikTok and see exactly where they live. It's hardly a concern of our target market.
Hey David, I remember you from a couple of my events from the past, and I'm gonna say this again. I might have said this the first time when we first met. I think that, you know, you have a cool, interesting business, and I think that you're a really smart dude. But I think that you can be more succinct with your pitch, and you can like give us some more meat, meaning like maybe talk about your actual go-to-market strategy, talk about the model a little bit more. I just think the pitch could be worked on, but I think that you're really smart, and I think the idea is pretty cool. Obviously, there's some things to consider, like what Anthony just said. But yeah, I really do like it. So I would just work on being more concise with the pitch and practicing it just a bit more.
Yeah, it's, there's a million things I'd say if I had the time. The app is called Mapsy. If anybody is a crazy investor in here who wants to take a moonshot on some smart guys,
So, David, I've got a question for you. You said you had an agency that was bringing in $500,000 a year. How come you need investment at this moment? Why not just fund it out of the revenue from that other company if the other company is doing well?
And if the other would be sloppy business, as well as I'm partnered with somebody like actually based in India. So I got to go travel to India a couple of years ago when I started my agency, and I made the decision to partner into a 50-50 partnership with a businessman from New Delhi. So I'm in a unique opportunity in the sense that I have like very strong connection and trust with India. So like being able to scale companies is something I've been able to help people do, and being able to start new products. Like we do a lot of work, and largely we're not like making a huge profit. Like that's revenue. So it's we're spending $10,000 a month on Mapsy. It's not the burden of the agency to take that. This is my full-time owned separate project.
Okay. Great. Well, David, thank you so much for your pitch. I do want to make sure we keep going, and I think you got some really great feedback, and I do agree with what Phil said in terms of trying to make your pitch a little bit more concise. And good luck with what you're working on, and keep us updated. If you want to come back and pitch in 5-6 weeks and make that pitch a little bit more concise, but we'd love to kind of hear how it's going.
You'll keep seeing me, man. Any crazy consumer folks, please hit me up. Check out the app if you like the vision. I'm here.
Great. Well, thank you, David. Cool. Moving forward, Arnav, are you there?
Yeah, thanks. Now, imagine living off ramen to save money while you're juggling several part-time jobs, are a full-time student, and are unable to find a job before you graduate with thousands of dollars in debt. That's what it feels like to an upcoming student grad with no work experience. Hi, everyone. I'm Arnav, co-founder and the CEO of Skillful, and an international undergraduate student who has dealt with this problem myself. Currently, we are a cohort-based bootcamp that connects students with mentors and trains them with strategies to land a job in less than 10 weeks while getting work experience one-on-one with the companies. We know we have the best expertise in exploring the hidden job market because that's what we've been perfecting over the course of the past 2 years. We were also able to partner with one of the fastest growing edtechs called Ripin while having an overwhelming signups from more than 130 students in less than over a month of our launch. Finally, we are planning to bootstrap and increase our MRR exponentially before we think about productizing our community. Thus, our ask is to connect with advisors, especially in the edtech space, before we start raising our seed round. Once again, I'm Arnav, the co-founder of Skillful, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Can you explain your model, please? I think you said MRR, so I assume that's subscription, but can you explain that for a second?
Yeah, for sure. So for now, we're to be honest, for now we are totally test driving different models. We were initially an ISA based. We were thinking about having an ISA based model, but for now it's literally a bootcamp based upfront one-time fee. And as I mentioned, we're thinking about productizing. So we will soon be releasing our MVP. Me with my co-founder. Based on that, we will have like a subscription based model. Go from there. But for now, it's literally in order to like test and doing things that don't scale, which is what we're doing right now. Sort of people as a service, literally back end is us doing everything. So yeah, it's like an upfront fee thing in order to see people will actually pay or not. Gladly people are paying. So
I love the concept. I think it sounds great, and I think monetizing it up front, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I think there's a ton of entrepreneurs who would love to, I would say delight, but they would donate their time. I think people love to be a mentor and a coach, not really a Clubhouse kind of coach, but a real coach, a real sort of mentor to people. Your website's a little confusing, but I love the concept. So good luck with him.
And now this is Rajan. We spoke last week, I think. Looks like you made some changes to your pitch, and that's great. But your business model still needs to be worked on, so we can take it offline. I'm done.
Totally. Okay. Thanks, Rajan.
Arlene, and I know Amy, you also had. Arlene, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Arnav, I went to your site and are you helping students or are you helping entrepreneurs? It's students, correct?
Yes, it's students.
So your model relies on mentors giving their time for free and amassing enough mentors that you're going to be able to match them and use their time for free? Or are you thinking that you'll have to pay them?
Yeah, for now, we're literally inviting mentors for free, and gladly they are coming. And we are also doing a lot of stuff in person in the back end. Yeah, we're coaching ourselves to the students.
Okay. And do you think that that's sustainable in terms of being scalable, that you'll be able to have enough mentor hours and time available to be able to continue to do this without having to pay them?
Not at all. But this is what I want to actually mention. We are doing things that don't scale, and we are before prioritizing this whole process, we want to make sure we know ins and outs of what the problems that the students are facing. So yeah, based on that, we will come up with a scalable strategy as well.
Right. I think that's something that you should focus on in terms of thinking about what the metrics are going to look like as you grow this business, and how you're going to have to be able to manage all sides of the equation here as you're trying to match people. I like the concept of what you're trying to do. I think it's really smart, but you do need to think about whether or not you're going to be able to get the mentorship time the way that you are looking for it for free. I wish you luck with it, and thanks for listening to me, and I'm out.
So I want to add to that, because I think Arlene hit a really good point there, and I think the thing that would kind of get me at least over that hump would be if you painted a picture of what it could look like in a reasonable way, and then said that you would be variable based on it, right? I think that's what I've seen be a really good thing to do in a situation where you can just pitch it and say, we think it could go here. That way we just have a vision in our head of a scalable version of this, right? Like if you said, we are looking at potentially monetizing this part of the interactions, right? Like this is how we're thinking about it. It goes a long way. But I think it's pretty cool, and I like your approach. And I like that you're going for that thought process is good, but I think just the way you frame it can be better.
I think the monetization is through recruitment. Now, isn't that the long-term game here, Anav? Is that where you go with it? I think recruiters would pay a ton for this, or corporates recruiting.
Yeah, actually, Christian, that was our initial model as well. We tried doing that based on all our user interviews. Hiring managers don't want to do so, and recruiters are scared for their job as well from that end. And there's a lot that goes into referral, which is why we want to create a community. And just adding on to what Spencer said, I don't know if anyone knows about Career Karma, but we are thinking about having not Career Karma, but sort of Career Karma based community of peers and mentors in Canada. So that is our long-term vision, and yeah.
Okay. Well, Arnav, thank you so much for your pitch. I want to make sure we keep going, and if anybody's interested in what Arnav is working on, be sure to reach out to him. James, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just said quickly, make sure you're really thinking around the liability and how you frame your product and your offerings as well, because when you have individual mentorship and they could potentially give bad advice. So there's a bunch of industries, if you look at like Angie's List, where they have, I think, over $100 million of pending lawsuits against them because they claim to, and all they do is offer like local construction people whatever they're supposed to be safe to use. But there's a bunch of industries that, connect people that are ending up in massive libel situations. And so that's something I would be really, really, really cautious in how you construct it from the beginning. That's my 2 cents. Just on it. I hope that's helpful.
Great.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank
Thanks,
you, James. Great. Thank you, Arnav. Cool. Moving forward, Tan and Julian, I'll be right there with you, as definitely want to do an intro. Tan, are you here to pitch?
I am.
Okay.
Do I go ahead and?
Yep. Cool. Go for it. You have 60 seconds.
Sure. So I am the CEO and co-founder of Femca Pitchfester, which is the problem that we're trying to solve with that is that as founders, we often spray and pray. So we all often shoot out our pitches to investors and VCs. And what happens is you may be a health tech investor, you're getting edtech pitches, or you're getting fintech pitches. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to help filter out pitches and stop founders from spamming investors. So what we're creating is a Tinder for startups and investors. We're sort of gamifying that. And a few of you people do know this because I came and I pitched this 3 weeks ago. Now, at that time, I was at ideation stage, and good news, I have our draft one launched, which is in my profile picture, if you can see that. Obviously, I've put another one. So this, if you download it right now, it is open to everyone. But when the current build, which we did about 4 hours ago, once that launches and is approved by Apple, it's an invite-only app after then. So with that, what we're trying to do is basically connect investors and startups, and it's basically a gamified version, something exactly like a Tinder. And with that, if you don't mind the few issues with the UI, and keeping in mind that it's a draft one version, it's live, and I'm happy to hear any feedback and happy to connect. Thank you.
Okay, interesting. Phil?
Yeah, I was going to say, hey, Tan. Well, first off, kudos to you for being that kind of entrepreneur that talks about something a couple weeks ago and then starts like building it. So yeah, big kudos to you for that. Number one. Number two, obviously you know that this platform is going to certainly it's going to be a marketplace. It's going to rely on some sort of network effects. It's going to rely on supply and demand, which is going to make it pretty tough, to get a bunch of supply and demand. But I think you're going to have the demand is going to be easier in this case because, as you know, like startups are popping up left and right because it's easier to launch a startup today more than ever. But the supply part is going to be difficult. So I guess my question to you is, how do you plan on achieving the supply part? Even if they want to meet with founders and hear pitches, like how do you plan on getting these top tier, GPs or funds to listen to these pitches ongoing and swipe left or right or be available for that?
Great question, Phil. So because we have benefit of being part of Y Combinator's startup school, we're getting all of our supply side from Y Combinator's startup school. So that's one side sorted out. The other side is Clubhouse. So we're only giving invites to either Y Combinator's startup school communities or Clubhouse communities, and that is what we're doing at this stage. Obviously, we have a lot to build on top of, but at our early stage, this is where we're sourcing both sides, startups and investors from both communities on Clubhouse and Y Combinator's startup school. So this pivot was part of our feedback from Eric Mijikovsky of Y Combinator. If I'm sure you guys know who Eric is. So we are building this in consideration from our feedback with Eric. So yeah.
And if Clubhouse or Y Combinator wasn't around, how would you go to market?
I would say if it wasn't around, I would probably reach out to niche startup communities and go that route. But thankfully, for my benefit, both of them are around, so we're trying to leverage that. So
I'll let some other mods ask some questions.
I was just going to say, Phil, it's funny you said supply and demand. I was thinking the supply was the demand and the demand was the supply. It's funny how people look at things differently, but interesting.
Any last feedback on this kind of Tinder for investing kind of idea?
I just say conceptually, it makes a lot of sense. I don't know what else is out there though, but I love to platformize everything. And if it hasn't been done, I think it's got good potential. But I'm not sure what else is out there that's in a similar format.
Can I say one thing that this is a piece of visual feedback? When I looked at the UX and the pictures, the deep purple background really made me like not feel as though I was bought in. I don't know if other people felt that, but I would take a look at the UX, and I'm a big proponent of really early on companies. Go spend a little bit of money. It's not that expensive. Get someone who's in design school, who's really passionate about getting a first product like into the market that someone's actually using. Get one of them to make you a really, really nice UX. it'll go a long way when you're pitching investors, because there's a lot of associated confidence in just the way it looks. And I think that could vastly improve your ability to raise funds for this project.
I 100%
Thank
agree
you.
with I 100% agree with Spencer. And usually, like, if you want to put a price point to it, it's like between like $2,000 and $4,000, and that's what somebody with, I'm saying between probably 3 to 5 years experience. So you could probably find it even cheaper if it's an intern. So I would definitely do exactly what Spencer just said.
Thank you, Spencer, and thank you, Phil. This was the draft 1 and draft 2 that has been fixed. However, I'm happy to come back in a few weeks and report on the UI changes and UX as well changes. So I'm happy to do that, but definitely feedback taken, and I will come back with a better version in a few weeks. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Well, Tan, thank you so much for your pitch. And yeah, again, it sounds definitely interesting. And since you mentioned Clubhouse, would love to be a beta tester and sort of try it out and see how it works, especially kind of like from a gamification standpoint. I think that's pretty interesting. So
Definitely. Also, just one more thing. So if you download it once the new version has come out, the invite code is Clubhouse, all capital letters. So if you do download it after a few hours, if Apple has approved it, the invite code is Clubhouse in capital letters. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tan. Cool. Moving forward, Sergio, before I go to you, Julian, great to have you join us. If you could do a quick intro. Julian? Okay, maybe Julian stepped away from his phone. We'll come back to Julian in a little bit. Sergio, you are up next. Apparently, you woke up like this, so not sure exactly what that means, but go for it. You have 60 seconds.
It means I wake up ready to take on each day. But my name is Sergio, and I'm the founder of Atlas. Atlas is a new type of financial institution, one that works for people. Offering multiple services, we help everyone, especially the underserved and unbanked, arrange their finances to become more financially independent, literate, and secure. Doing so enables them to better leverage their growing assets. We work better for people than traditional banks because of our services, namely our proprietary lending formula and our credit planning. Our proprietary formulas provide lower APR rates, higher APY rates, and help build, rebuild, or improve your credit in the process through regular quotidian habits. The highest APY rate this month is 1.25%, while the average nationwide is at 0.06%. Our formula enables our clients, through smart planning, to receive up to 1,000 times more than the national average. Allowing everyone to be financially independent, literate, and secure opens more opportunities to grow and take bigger leaps. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
moderators?
So I'm going to sound like Phil Castro here for a second. What is your go-to-market strategy? What are you? So, because I think for buy-in on something like this, and I actually, someone who I mentored a little while ago, did something interesting, right? Where he banked a lot of unbanked people, and the finding that he talked about how he had done it, it was sort of like a side effect of a company he was working on, and he did it because they were doing like grocery stuff in like low income areas, and they realized they had gained the trust of the community. And like the unbanked are unbanked for a reason instead of trust reason, right? And so I wonder how you guys approach the idea of trust and how that impacts your go-to-market strategy, because I feel as though in this type of business, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're sort of very interwoven.
Right. So I think trust is a two-way street. I come from an immigrant community. My parents actually migrated to the U.S. when I was 4. And growing up, we lived on a very, very tight budget. So I grew up in low income housing, and I know how it feels to be there and everything. And during this pandemic, we actually, since my family thankfully is better off now, we were actually able to deliver well over 2,000 different grocery boxes to this exact community where we came from. That's the most important part about a community. It's not just, it's essentially remembering what it feels like to be there. And truthfully, I remember how my parents and everyone around me growing up had very little like financial independence because they were constricted. They had no one to actually help them or teach them or mentor them through this whole process. So I think part of my go-to market strategy is sympathy, knowing what it feels like to be a member of this community.
Okay, but I know this is, but that was like lay out step by step. What's your strategy? By the way, your story is awesome, and I think that's a huge part of why I'm like I want to believe in you here. But I want to tease out like this part of it because I think this is going to be key. How do you? What's an example of a learning or understanding that you have and a way that that's going to impact your ability to bring this product to market? Like that's where if I'm bought into this vision, I'm bought into you, I'm bought into this company. But without that, it's difficult to see the business coming together for me.
So, I mean, I couldn't quite hear that because I was having a little bit of internet connectivity issues. Could you repeat your question?
So my question is, I guess the story is awesome, and I think, and I really believe in you as a founder, but what I didn't hear was a specific step-by-step, here's how I'm going to use some specific understanding I have about this community to bring this product effectively to this community to serve the most people, right? And the thing is like sort of a customer acquisition question, because when you're looking at funding, like you want to fund products that are going to do the most impact. And I think this is going to have a huge impact, and that's an awesome part of what you're doing. But the unit economics really need to work out.
Right. So I think part of it is understanding how most people work. They work sort of gig jobs or jobs that are paid in cash. So part of it would be working with them to see what their financial situation is like currently. And then with them filing, because truthfully, I don't think many of them qualify for a social security number, and that makes getting credit or starting a credit file harder. So they would have to go through getting a TIN number. And that process on its own is very daunting for someone who either just moved here or has no idea and is very, like they have trust on a very short leash. And through that, we can help them first open up bank accounts.
Hey, Sergio, no, is it just me, or are you, like, because I want to, like, do you have step-by-step plan, or it's totally fine to say I don't have a specific plan, but I have some understandings. I just want to understand where you're at in terms of the strategy process and like what you're thinking about the execution.
So I don't have a step-by-step plan currently.
Okay, that's cool. That's no problem. That's something where I think in order to raise funds, you've got to get that plan, but it's totally fine to say I don't have it. And I think when you answer questions like I don't have it, that is a fine answer. But sometimes if you go down a different route, it like distracts from the actual question.
Okay, I understand. And I mean, I just started working on this, so I got down the formulas.
No, Sergio, DM me. I want to work with you. I'm going to give you 30 minutes of my time sometime next week, and we're going to get this pitch perfect. And then we'll bring you back sometime to another pitch room. How about that?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Hey, and Spencer, I know you're poking fun at the go-to-market strategy, but you and I know distribution over design. A lot of founders do not know that, do not agree with that, and I just wish that more founders knew that. You know, when starting a startup, if they have a really tight go-to-market strategy, their odds just increase exponentially with success. And that's why I keep saying it over and over and over. I feel like I'm a broken record, so I'm laughing with you, though. I for sure say that way too much.
Cool.
Back to you, Bernardo. Back to you.
And
Yes.
I think, sorry.
Go ahead, James.
And I was going to say, like, what you hear being set up here is, I think, where, you know, as a product guy, right? Product is my life's passion, and product market fit and understanding the architecture and how to. So where there's actually a really good room Nelly puts on, and she does a really good free webinar to kind of give you an introduction to that. And there's some really good books that every founder should read. One of them Sprint, and there's another one around lean startup methodology. But understanding the mindset of how to discover your market, how to do your qualitative analysis, your quantitative analysis, and then how to build your framework. So when you come on stage to people like Spencer, everybody up here who's absolutely brilliant, you have a coherent understanding that can be picked apart 20 ways from Sunday, and you can have fun with it. And that's just something I'd recommend. That's from my opinion. I appreciate it.
Great. James, thank you so much. And Sergio, thank you so much for your pitch. I want to make sure we keep going. And I think that is a very generous offer from Spencer.
Bernard, can I say one thing real quick? I just want to make clear the reason I'm making this offer is because I think there's a huge chance that Sergio's onto something, because like I would never have thought through that type of problem that much, because just the communities I operate in don't have unbanked problems. And so I'm confident that he understands this problem in a deeper way than I ever could. And I want to help him get set up to succeed, because I think that's exactly the type of founder that like can solve a problem in a unique way that no one on this stage could otherwise, who wasn't coming from that situation. So, or knowing people who were. And so that's I think the type of founder that I want to support. And I just want to throw that out there as a sort of a thesis. And Sergio, I'm excited to talk with you.
I appreciate that, Spencer, and I look forward to your mentoring and your guidance.
Complete,
Wonderful.
Spencer. And that's why I was adding those tools on, because I think those tools, for those that have that unique perspective, it's really powerful to harness them into a framework that can be appreciated and really dived into.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I do want to make sure we keep going. So again, thank you, Spencer, and thank you, James, and thank you, Sergio, for coming to pitch. Cool. Moving forward, Jennifer, you just joined us. Willie, you are next, but we have Jennifer in the room. Jennifer, great to have you here in the room. We missed you again last week, even though you said you were going to be here last week. So
no,
shame
sorry,
on you.
Bernardo. So my one of the companies that we're invested in announced their SPAC. It's called Grab. It's in the news now, so you know about it. So I've been really busy with the Grab SPAC, and also I have another company going public this week.
Another IPO?
Yeah, another IPO. This one in the crypto blockchain space. So quite excited.
Okay. All right. Jennifer,
I mean, to your room other than for that reason. And I'm really glad to be back and here and meeting startups, and also meeting, other moderators and investors.
Yes. No, Jennifer, and I'm just teasing you a little bit, but great to have you back. And, congrats on the SPAC, and congrats on on yet another IPO. So that is really, really great, and great to have you back. Cool. Moving forward. Yes, thank you. Willie, you are up next. Are you ready?
I am. Thank you so much for having me up. I'm
Cool.
Wiley.
You have 60 seconds.
Great. I'm Wiley, a 25-year-old New York native. Shortly after getting very sick from a bug bite in 2019, which has changed the course of my life, I began to research and understand that vector-borne disease and infectious diseases are fast approaching a billion-person problem. Climate change is accelerating vector disease range, and this has cascade effects. And yet much of the current healthcare model overlooks this fundamental public health crisis and leaves people in the dark. And that was all before COVID hit. COVID-19 has exposed glaring flaws in an antiquated healthcare system utterly unprepared for what people are calling an incoming pandemic era. Enter vector. A virus knows no borders, and we believe technology can follow a virus like a virus and change how we convey public health information by democratizing the current model. If you can pull out your phone and check the weather, why can't you do the same for public health data? To get right down to it, Vector puts reliable and local public health data in your pocket, just like the weather, creating a first-of-its-kind digital space for people to learn of, interact with, and manage outside risks to themselves. The goal is to aggregate and normalize public health data and environmental data across the country and the world so the platform can follow growing infectious disease threats, helping institutions and municipalities coordinate and follow a virus like a virus. Ultimately, Vector wants to give you back control in a disrupted new world. This past fall, Vector won a top prize at MIT Hacking Medicine's virtual hackathon. And we're pre-product and very early and just seeking mentors and advice. So thank you.
Interesting. Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I guess the first question I have is like when you compare it to, so I get these notifications on my phone for the COVID-19 exposure that Apple wants to use some type of geofencing or GPS-based technology to track when you potentially might have had an exposure. So curious, how do you compete with something like that if Apple decides to, expand further into the public health space?
Absolutely. So we are completely different from an exposure notification app. In fact, the company that gave us the award at MIT is a Boston nonprofit called the PathCheck Foundation, and they do manage things like exposure notifications. Vector is an aggregation thing where if you're a user and you're traveling somewhere, you can put in that information and it will populate for you the relevant local health risks like asthma risk, allergy, COVID-19.
Wiley, this is Jennifer. I'm so sorry. I was trying to say earlier that I want to link you up with one of my friends' portfolio companies. It's one of the ones working on the COVID vaccine passport. I feel like it would be really cool. You guys have a lot of synergies. A lot of times when people go to a different country, they have to make sure their vaccinations as well as, all their conditions are being managed, and they need to know the risk, malaria risk, whatever, dengue risk, all sorts of kinds of risks. So it'll be very interesting. There's actually two other companies I think that will be really interesting to introduce you to as well. One is pre-IPO right now.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. May I quickly finish my answer to Kevin, I believe it was?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. So the a use case would just be you're traveling to a different place, and you want the local information, like is there a lot of allergens in the air? Are you near a FEMA Superfund toxicity site? What are all these factors that are now emerging? Because now the public really is starting to care about them, and they're starting to keep it in the front of their minds. So the end of this use case is you could put in as an anonymous user what your underlying health sensitivities or preferences are, and the app would spit back to you the targeted health information you care about. And we believe that that parsing the requested hyperlocal data with the preferences of the user could be very valuable in an anonymous fashion. So it's different from the exposure notifications.
I see. And then who's building the inputted database, or where does that type of information come from?
You mean like where we're getting the public health information?
Yes.
Yes. So basically I use the word normalizing. I'm not a coder and don't have experience in that, but the way we've understood the landscape is basically every local board of public health keeps a database that is digital. A lot of them, there's no uniformity, unfortunately, and that's been the main hindrance to making something that could just pull in kind of like an API into a central app. But we're preparing to tackle that because I've gotten, I guess you could call it inside knowledge that this is starting to be addressed and there's starting to become increasing uniformity. So we think pulling that in won't be a problem going forward. And yeah.
And then, so I understand the value proposition for the user. I guess in terms of for the business, how do you guys make money on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just refreshing something here. Yeah, so basically the customer revenue, we treat the customers as the big brands and the businesses are our customers, whereas users are just the consumer and perhaps employees of larger companies. So a fleet management service with a lot of delivery drivers who has to go across locations and cross borders would benefit greatly from this. We also believe that there's targeted on-app revenue because with a HIPAA-compliant data storage thing, you could have brands still, kind of advertise to users based on their health preferences. And then lastly, we believe there are a lot of, potential data, I have to use this carefully here, but data monetization plays because this would all be completely anonymous, scrambling the user ID, as well as never asking for any personal identifiable information, if that makes sense. And that maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
masking PII is pretty important for HIPAA
Yeah.
stuff. No, I think you're hitting on an interesting trend. I mean, clearly, COVID-19, if it did one thing that's interesting for society, is that everyone now has a personal virologist or physician or epidemiologist. You probably have a friend, or you might be that person yourself who read endless amounts of articles about COVID-19 and vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there is a greater awareness in the public communities around health, and so I'd love to connect and see if I might be able to connect you with maybe some potential partners, channel partners, payers that could be helpful for you.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Thank you
Wiley,
very
I get
much.
too quick. Sorry, guys.
Christian?
Go ahead, Julian.
Oh, go for it, Christian.
Sorry. Well, just 2 quick points, Wiley. I wouldn't underestimate the data input. I don't think you're going to find that it's going to be anything close to standardized. So I would just expect that to be a long hack for today and forever. I understand you do need to normalize that, but the data input coming from governments is never going to be standardized. And then the second thing, think about the travel industry. There's quite a few companies doing this now for COVID conditions because that's really affecting people's ability to travel. So that's quite a nice go-to-market for you. The travel industry, obviously right now cares about COVID conditions, but in the future it cares about pollution and everything else and all these other things as well. So people like Expedia, Booking.com, airlines would probably love this data if it comes in a nice clean API. So just a couple of things there for you.
Thanks so much, Christian. Yeah, we in the past we've definitely thought about like travelers and traveling companies as kind of a target. And to address your first point about the difficulty of getting all the data from the potentially unreliable government sources, that's why our expansion strategy is pretty key. We plan on starting small in a pretty concentrated state in the U.S. with a lot of urban centers. And we're have some connections to nonprofits in potential states like Massachusetts and Texas to start in as a beachhead audience and expand. So thanks.
Yeah, great. Cool. Good luck. If you do the travel thing, hit me up, and don't go B2C travel. If you go that vertical, definitely go B2B. Good luck, Wayne.
Got it. Thank you so much. I'd love to connect. Thanks.
Yeah, just I really love the concept of this, Wiley, and love to chat. I've spent quite a bit of time in the personalized precision medicine space, particularly after kind of dealing with a story similar to yours. Just an idea that popped in my head. I think there's actually probably a lot of opportunity in connecting different spaces people are in to the ways that they can actually access more personalized data. I see an opportunity, whether that's positioning the right tests that people can get to actually understand their own, as well as linking that to environmental data and inputs and putting, the personalized medicine space into the environmental health space as well. So I'd love to chat with you more about that offline. I got 4 years of pretty deep experience in it myself. So I'll shoot you a DM. Would love to connect. Wow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, if I may quickly, the last thing about it is fundamentally, I mean, you're speaking to the really big picture of it, which is I was just sort of thinking there is no platform or like, I use the weird metaphor of like Starbucks. They're like the space in between home and work. Well, virtually there's no space in between you and the outside risks to mediate and manage that. And now COVID has made that glaringly painful and obvious. And putting some kind of virtual barrier to manage the inputs and manage how you want to control it, I think will give people a little bit more ease, and I think is right around the corner. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Wiley, thank you so much for your pitch. Definitely seems like you were working on something really interesting, and definitely congrats on winning the MIT HackMed. I'm sure you had some really fierce competition on that. So just that alone is really some very good proof of kind of like what you're working on is just really interesting, and that you have a really awesome team in terms of execution. So again, congrats, and thank you again for pitching, and be sure to connect with some of the moderators like Kevin, and if you're going to travel, also be sure to connect with Christian, and of course with Julian. So thank you again, Wiley.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Bernardo, I'm about to hit the hay. I'm getting old here. It's getting late over here at CST time. Thank you again, mods. Thank you again, the entrepreneurs. You guys are the real MVPs for pitching up here. Just really quick, tomorrow doing a room with co-founder of Superhuman. We'd love to have you guys there at, what time is it at? It's at 6:30 p.m. CST, doing a fireside chat, and then the worst pitch contest. That's right, worst pitch. So bring your worst pitches. And then me and Bernardo are hosting a room on Saturday. I do my startup Saturdays, and Bernardo's coming by. If anybody especially on the panel, that wants to come and hang and just hear some pitches and talk about startups at noon, that would be awesome. And then for the entrepreneurs, if you guys want to pitch, please DM me. I'm going to book a couple more venture capitalists, and you guys can pitch them. So appreciate the time, and hopefully everything was insightful today. Thank you, Bernardo, for hosting this awesome room, and I'll see you next week.
Wonderful. Thank you, Phil, for joining us. And I'm excited for your event tomorrow, and I will definitely be joining you on Saturday. Anyway, thank you for that invite. So thank you, Phil. Cool. Moving forward, Kaylee, you are up next. Make sure that you give us some really awesome enthusiasm. Moderators, as we have a good amount of people still on stage, which I want to really get through. And I still would like to do the kind of discussion. We were going to talk about BitCloud. So please, I am going to keep all the moderator responses to 2 questions or comments from the moderators, and then we're moving forward. That way, we sort of keep the flow of the room, and we keep going pitch after pitch after pitch. So Kaylee, you're up next. You have 60 seconds. Give us a lot of enthusiasm and go for it.
Did you know 22% of teen girls reported suffering from anxiety and depression in 2020, the highest rate in history? Why? Well, Gen Z girls are the first generation of middle school girls to consume an average of 7 hours of social media a day. My name is Kaylee Breyer, and I am the founder of Kaylee's Queens. Kaylee's Queens is a global platform and safe space for middle school girls to meet new friends, build confidence, and learn new skills. Our live video events include girls from over 30 countries participating in a variety of events, such as baking clubs, book clubs, and entrepreneurship clubs. I am looking for a mentor to help me scale my company and anyone with connections to morning shows. So, can I get a whoop whoop if you're ready to join Kaylee's Queens?
Whoop whoop! Whoop whoop! Wonderful. Kelly, I think what you're working on is really, really interesting. That figure that you threw out, that girls in middle school are consuming an average of 7 hours a day of social media, is certainly frightening. And of course, at that age when kids or teenagers are highly influenced, and when social media is obviously kind of like made, well, especially at that age, and kind of sort of within the younger generation of kind of like living my best life, right? Then most teenagers just feel like left behind, right? Because everybody else is supposedly living their best life. So really think what you're working on is really, really cool. Moderators, who has a question or a comment?
Kaylee, this is Amy. I can probably help you with like putting together a sizzle reel and some other tools to help you get some various morning shows. I would definitely suggest, though, I see in your profile that you've done a couple of local ones. It might be a good idea to hire a publicist if you're looking for more of a national angle, and I can connect you with a few in my network, one who we use as well. And there are a few other tips out there if you want some digital exposure as well as print. I always recommend registering at Haro, H-A-R-O. It's Help a Reporter Out. It's a site and technology that's part of Cision, who basically connect reporters and journalists with their own topics, and they shoot them out to sources on a 3 times daily basis. And if you're a reliable source on anything basically teenage, if anything basically your topic comes across, you can contribute, and the journalists then have an option to pick your feedback. And it's just a really great way to generate a little bit of PR, but it's not exactly the morning shows that you were asking for, but I can definitely help with that as well. So this is Amy. Hopefully I'm helpful.
Thanks so much. Yeah, all of my current features are all from networking by myself. So I haven't decided if it's worth hiring one, but I'm definitely going to reach out and really appreciate the advice. And Harrow, I'm going to look into it. Thanks.
Wonderful. One last comment. Again, we're doing 2 comments or comments or questions per pitch. Christian, did you want to say something?
I don't want to take up a comment because I want to help Kaylee. So if you connect to me through Instagram, I'd love to jump on a call and see if I can give you some strategy help or see if I can help you. I've got a teenage daughter entrepreneur in my house, and I really believe in the cause. So hit me up and let's have a chat.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you, Christian. And that's awesome. Definitely want to help Kaylee and also hopefully get your daughter involved as well. Cool. Any last comment or question from any of the moderators?
Yeah, this is Prabjeet. I was just going to jump in here really quickly, but I'll keep it to 30 seconds because I know you want to move on to the next person. But Kaylee, absolutely message me. I've had a lot of success with doing it with going through Twitter and going to those producers that are producing for those morning shows. So absolutely DM me on Insta, and I'm more than happy to give you additional tips of how to do it. But that would be my strongest suggestion because they're always looking for people, especially if you have the entire segment already written out for them. So again, DM me and we can go into more detail. But that's Prabjeet and I'm done.
I will. Thank you so much. I will reach out to both of you. Good night.
Did we lose Bernardo?
Bernardo, are you there?
Oh, sorry. Oops. I
Let's
did not
go
unmute myself.
Oh.
Yes. Sorry. No. I was saying. Yeah. Sorry. I did the whole thing unmuted. But Kaylee, thank you so much for your pitch, and be sure to connect with Prabjeet, Christian, and Amy, as they've offered some really good help. So thank you, Kaylee, for your pitch. Cool. Moving forward, Ethan, you are up next. Before you start, give me one just a quick second. Prabjeet, great to have you join us. If you could do a quick intro. I know I've been wanting you to. I've been bugging you to join one of the rooms. So finally, you have joined one of the rooms, and really great to have you here as a mod. So thank you for joining us. Would be great to have an intro.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Prabjeet Singh. I own multiple companies in the real estate space, home inspection company, credit repair company. So I own multiple different companies, including an online school and a social media platform we're about to launch in about 4 months into beta for real estate agents to refer business to each other. But appreciate you having me and look forward to helping to support you all. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Social media platform for real estate. That sounds pretty interesting. Looking forward to hearing about that. So thank you, Prabjeet, for joining us. Ethan, you're up next. You have 60 seconds. Make sure to give us a lot of enthusiasm. Go for it.
Thank you, Bernardo. Okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Ethan Schassel, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Stake.gg. These past few years have been really hectic and a major change for all of us, and never before has our world been so digitally connected and engaged. And one of the ways that we are connecting is through gaming. Hell, even Joe Biden is playing Mario Kart with his granddaughter, and AOC is streaming games to her political fans on Twitch. With the emergence of gaming and esports, prediction markets have hit the scene, allowing users to participate in wagers for pro matches for esports. But there are issues with the status quo. Platforms like Betway and FanDuel act as gatekeepers, only allowing certain people to join their platforms. Once onboarded, these platforms require you to surrender your funds to them, leading to dozens of horror stories on Twitter. Often riddled with high fees and stale markets, these prediction platforms never allow amateurs to be represented. This is where Stake comes in. Stake is a decentralized, global, and permissionless prediction market that empowers users and fans with the ability to create and participate in open prediction markets on pro and amateur esports matches, as well as Twitch streams and LAN tournaments, without surrendering funds to a central party. We are seeking $250,000 for 10% stake at a $2.5 million pre-money valuation, and this will help us get our initial product to market and look for additional user acquisition channels and seek more funding in the future to build out an extensive platform. And that's it. Thank you.
So, Ethan, the $1 million question here: where are you based as a company, and is this legal in the state you're in?
Yeah. So we've talked to various different lawyers throughout Germany, US. I'm in the US, and my co-founder is actually based in Shibuya, Tokyo. We're actually going to go with the same model that other open source prediction markets go with, including Augur.net or Flux Protocol. Augur.net has been functioning with dozens or thousands of prediction markets every week, but they have never received a cease and desist letter or any legal issues. And they've been running for, I think like 4 or 5 years now. So I don't think that, I think that the legal front is definitely a big question. And we have talked to various different lawyers, some in Colorado, like I said, and some in Germany and Asia. But we're pretty confident that the existing prediction market platforms kind of pave the way for us to do what we want to do. Because we're no different than Augur.net, but we would focus strictly on esports.
Okay. One last question or comment from the moderators.
I just want to point out, I think that makes sense. I think people don't realize that traditional sports and esports are extremely separate in terms of where who goes and bets, and that makes a lot of sense. Not my category, but I like that perspective.
If I may add one thing, one thing that's really important about Stake to realize is that all the other traditional platforms, they only cover pro matches, and there are only so many pros, and there are only so many games they play every season. Like an average pro esports player may only play about 50 games, maybe 150 matches. But if you go to twitch.com right now and go to any video game, the top streamer is most likely not a pro, and you'll never find one of their markets on a traditional platform. So really, these traditional platforms are missing out on hundreds, if not thousands, of markets every day because they only want to focus on pro matches. And like I said, the markets are pretty stale. So on traditional platforms, you'll see markets like who will win, who will lose, or maybe you'll see some more interesting markets than that. But people underestimate what fans and users will come up with. Like, you can only imagine how many really interesting prediction markets would have come up during AOC's Among Us stream that had like thousands of viewers. And so I think that's really important to realize that this kind of empowers the little guy and not just the pro teams with exposure. But yeah, thank you for all.
Bernardo, can I ask one question, or are we moving on?
Good. Can you make it quick?
Yeah, let me make it real quick.
Yep.
So how do you stop the problem of someone, if I'm streaming and I say, hey, everyone on my stream, I'm about to lose this match, go bet on that platform and I'll lose this match, and then purposely losing a match? How do you stop that behavior on your platform? Because I would see that would be a really good way to get followers on Twitch, for example.
Right. But it
would ruin the integrity of the platform, and that's where I'm concerned on the legal side about, that's a lawsuit, right? If that happens.
100%, and I suggest you Google the incident that happened in China, where there was actually a platform doing this in China, and people would contact not the player themselves, but their teammates to throw the game. But the underlying issue with the argument is that that's already illegal, so that wouldn't really fall on us. We aren't making any markets, we're not supplying odds, we're not resolving the markets, we're simply a user interface that interacts with the blockchain. So if someone does something illegal, it's kind of like someone, you hear the argument with Craigslist and offering some illegal services. Craigslist has never gotten in actual legal trouble, and in fact, they won a Supreme Court case because of it. And so I think that there are definitely some concerns, but I think that there's already existing platforms that have already, I guess, show that the issue doesn't really fall on them as much as the actual person using the platform itself. So I guess you as the Twitch streamer would be breaking the law, but we wouldn't have liability there.
We got to move on, but I just want to offer here that I think you actually do still need to think through that problem, because different from like, it's not just the illegalness of it. It just, if that becomes the main use of your platform, then the other thing that you want it to do, it won't do, right? Because the odds will be totally off, and so it won't be interesting. So I think we got to move on, but I would just offer that you
Good point.
That to think about that.
Yeah, totally.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Ethan, for coming to pitch. And if anybody's interested in what Ethan is working on, be sure to DM Ethan. And again, thank